All right. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is David Patrick Carey with Church of the Eternal Logos. And tonight we have a very fun Friday night open panel stream in which we're going to get into what I'm calling distorted or exaggerated forms of masculinity. We have a few examples to use and again, open it up to an open panel. And if you would like to join this stream once the open panel starts, that link is in the video description. So you just have to open up that video description and click that StreamYard link, and you'll be able to join here in a bit. And so tonight's stream, I want to show you guys a few examples, again, of what I'm calling exaggerated forms of masculinity, distorted forms of masculinity, and looking at people like Andrew Tate, Liver King, Adam22, now that we all know what he did as a gift for his wife for their marriage. Literally getting cucked and filming it is what we've recently found out. We're going to get into all these details again. Some of it's horrific. It's again, very gay, very simpy, very cuck. But And also Aubrey Marcus. So we'll be looking at Aubrey Marcus. Well, what is Aubrey Marcus's exaggerated masculinity? Well, it's a sort of new age spirituality. It's him getting down and bowing to the feet of women for the patriarchy, for its a marginalization of female voices. It's his hedonistic pursuit of sexuality and his polyamorous relationship that I believe ended up ruining a relationship he had with his ex-wife or his previous partner when they were together for I forget how many years. Um, and so his masculinity is like this exaggerated form of the sort of new age spirituality, the psychedelic spirituality, where he goes into these altered states. He's always talking about Gaia and consciousness and loving himself. And again, we're going to be talking about, I'm going to be showing you clips because to open up today's panel, I want to show you guys clips of all these different individuals, again, presenting, and I would argue, their exaggerated form of masculinity. And so Aubrey Marcus, we're going to watch some funny clips in his whole new age spiritual psychedelic worldview, and how he, in one of them, he claims, I was polyamorous because I just hadn't loved myself enough yet. What? You haven't loved you? What are you talking about? And so this is a sort of narcissistic self-worship. I would say, again, a very feminine form of masculinity. And that's going to be, again, contrary to maybe like Andrew Tate. And I would say out of the four people, in a way, Andrew Tate says a lot of things that I would agree with. Now, at the same point, you know, him and his brother got rich through a webcam service in which he was able to mislead and essentially lie to men that they were forming these relationships with what he claims to be his various girlfriends. And we're going to be watching clips on this. Eventually, according to him, got up to 75 girls, 75 different girls that were behind these webcams. And this was his webcam empire, in which really how him and his brother made most of their millions of dollars. And so what is Andrew Tate's exaggerated form of masculinity? Well, I would say it's success at the cost of morality. And so, yeah, he talks about being fit, you know, attaining goals, this type of thing, you know, pursuing business, entrepreneurship and stuff like that. But obviously that most of you guys are going to be aware that he and his brother have been recently arrested. Well, not recently, but what was it? Beginning in December of 2022. And those charges are rape and human trafficking and like forming a sort of organization for sex trafficking or something of that sort. And even though, again, I don't know the details of that situation, I'm not here to cast any argument on the guilty or innocence of the Tate brothers. I do think it's interesting that, of course, Romania kept them in jail for, what was it, like 4 months or something, and still had yet to press charges. So that certainly raises question marks. However, as I'll argue and I'll highlight, I think that the ways in which they made their money, and because they're, and I'm going to show you clips, you get no remorse for getting men to like sell their mortgages on their homes, take out loans to pay for these girls that they thought they were forming relationships with, you know, Famoose, a lot of men. He has no remorse on this. And I would say that that is absolutely immoral. And so the way that he's used women to build this business through misleading men certainly is a form of degeneracy. And so that has opened him up to, I think, then the criticisms that are being levied at him, or even the charges, whether they're valid or not. I don't know. I'm not even getting into, again, whether he's innocent or guilty. Don't know, and really don't care. My only point is to describe and present what I'm arguing for, are these distorted representations of masculinity, and the idea that we as a man should just be making much money. And again, I have clips, no matter what the case is, no matter what immoral workings that we're involved in, it's all good. You just want to make money, and somehow you're going to escape the matrix through the amount of money you made. Certainly, the fact that him and his brother had been arrested puts question marks whether the amount of money you make prevents you from being imprisoned by the matrix or whatnot. Again, so I would say Andrew Tate's form of masculinity of focusing on material success, material wealth, sexual access to women, high social status, buying Bugattis, and having this immense cash and money, mansions, homes around the world. Um, Certainly, success is something all men should aspire to, but the way that he would argue for it is certainly immoral. Now we look at Liver King, and Liver King presents this sort of very primitive form of masculinity, right? Um, and his whole thing is about living the sort of primal lifestyle, which means eating raw meat, as we'll show here, drinking blood from animals. And this whole thing was he had these vitamins in the supplement company that was tied to his online Liver King brand, where he said for multiple years, I think it was like 2 years, claimed that, no, I don't do steroids. I've never done PEDs. I don't do any of this stuff. Lying, which again, eventually he was caught on because Derek from the YouTube channel More Plates, More Dates actually was working with a gentleman who had somehow discovered all these emails that Liver King was actually shooting. And he actually sent to Derek before he did his online brand, talking about which type of steroids, how much tea he's doing, all these different steroids and performance enhancements and drugs. It was the goal from the beginning was for Liver King to attain the physique that he has. And I'm not saying he didn't work out. Clearly, anybody who knows what steroids are knows that just taking steroids doesn't make you super fit. So he still worked out. He still got his physique. Whether he has ab implants or not, don't know. But his whole thing was frauding people that they thought because he's eating raw liver and he's eating the heart of an animal and he's drinking blood from an animal he just killed, that this is how he's attaining the results of his physique. It was another famous. It was a total lie. He's on tons of steroids, and he eventually had to admit that. Now he's still sort of doing the exact same thing and going hog wild with his sort of online persona, but in a way, this primitive masculinity isn't the same thing as the Andrew Tates, the material success, the sex, the money, the Bugattis, and it's certainly not the same thing as Aubrey Marcus with his new age, the psychedelics, the bowing down to the feet of women. That's really not the same thing either. And then more recently, obviously, you guys are going to be familiar with Adam22, who I'm not real familiar with that guy's story or what exactly he did to become famous. All I know is that he had a very popular podcast called No Jumper. And I had seen clips, not because I followed or anything, just because consuming culture, it pops up here and there. And so this Adam22 guy, he's covered in tattoos. He's in the hip hop industry. He's a white guy, basically in the black community. He has all these interviews with sort of edgy people, whether it be gang members or rappers or whoever, anybody that sort of pushes the edge in culture. And so he's kind of presented as this sort of edgy, masculine guy. And he's always, he's a porno star with his, I guess now wife that he's married. And they film OnlyFans videos with other girls. And again, it presents this as like this real masculine thing. Now, when you listen to him talk, not very intelligent, and has all the opinions that the system would want you to have, right? So not very, again, as the kids would say, not very red pilled, not very based. And so this Adam22 guy, apparently he's a cuck. And this was just kind of brought out in the open with the fact that his wife, so on the same day that he celebrates marrying this woman that he films pornos with other women, she also then had a request of her husband to film a porn with this, again, ginormous black, very muscular black guy. Looks like a professional athlete of some sort. I guess he's a professional adult film star. And not only did she then have a porno flick with this guy, which is the case, and it's the pinned tweet if you go to her Twitter, the same day that Adam22 is posting about marrying this woman and has all these wedding photos and all this stuff. If you go to his wife's Twitter, the pinned tweet is her latest video with this other guy. And apparently she even says, and I'll show you a clip, she says it was a gift that she asked of Adam. Well, the black guy recently came out, and this I think was yesterday or the day before, and he says, guys, Adam22, Adam was filming the whole thing. So it wasn't like, okay, yeah, honey, you can go film your OnlyFans stuff with this guy over here. No. He was filming it. So the idea that he's a cuck is to the extreme. And the black guy said it was so weird because she was basically saying, how do you like that? How do you like that, little guy? And he's like, oh yeah, I like it. Watching his wife have sex with another man. And so the point then is just to open up, show you guys some clips of all these different guys and present as what I'm calling these distorted forms of masculinity. I mean, this whole tattoos, sort of thug, edgelord presentation of Adam22, turns out he's a cuck. Turns out he's an incredibly weak man. Turns out he has no discipline and, you know, not really somebody to aspire to. You look at Aubrey Marcus. Now, he then also destroyed one of his relationships with polyamory. He also, you know, gets down on his knees and kisses and worships the feet of women to highlight their inner goddess. And then we have Andrew Tate, who presents more of a masculinity that's timed to worldly success. Now, he was a world champion kickboxer. He stays in great shape. You can't deny him on that. But again, I would argue the masculinity he presents, which has changed a little bit since he's come out of prison. I've watched just a few clips. And for those of you who know, originally Andrew and Tristan Tate were Orthodox Christians, but that changed quite quickly once Andrew started facing some pressure from the Western world, from the media conglomerates, from the news agencies, and then from the central banks. They started to shut down all his social media and his bank accounts. And pretty soon, all of a sudden, he's a Muslim. Now, he talks about religion in regards to a sort of utilitarianism, a sort of utility for order, utility for structure, utility for understanding female virginity, purity, masculinity, all these different things. And he says he believes in a God, and obviously a very generic monotheistic God. Islam would fit that. And also Islam allows him to have multiple wives. So another dimension of Andrew Tate is that he claims that he isn't ever going to get married, even though he does have, I don't know how many children. I know he has a daughter. I know he has a daughter. But his whole thing is that he has multiple girlfriends and he keeps about 4 at a time, and that they stay loyal to him. They know that he has multiple women, and basically he has his own harem. So you can imagine if you're living that lifestyle, of course, Islam is going to be quite suitable and conducive to that lifestyle. So I only bring that up because we as Orthodox Christians, we as devout Christians, our masculinity as men is tied to the defense of our tradition itself and living up, as I've talked about, to higher values. The red pill, the manosphere, again, Rolo, what a massive dork he is. Maybe I should play a video of Andrew Tate's lawyer literally talking about how much of a massive dork Rolo Tomasi is. But he calls himself the godfather of the red pill, right? But a lot of the red pill manosphere rhetoric is always talking about high value men, high value men. What exactly is high value men? And you listen to it, and it's sort of a relativistic framework on social status, money, and sexual access. Well, as I've said, for somebody who believes in God and literally believes in God, a high value man is a man who lives up to the highest values. And the thing that you should be focused on the most is reputation and honor and your service to the community. As Father Michael Butler said last time he was on, that was my last stream, is that a man provides more than he consumes. And so the consumer mentality, or the idea that we're going to become successful so we can buy our Bugatti, that's not masculine. Now, certainly it's masculine to work hard. Certainly it's masculine to keep your body in shape. Certainly it's masculine to attain goals and be successful in whatever degree that is. But success shouldn't be characterized by money itself, because as soon as you do that, as we'll see, Andrew Tate's okay with making money at whatever expense. He even tells young men that if you, and I'll play this clip here in a few, if you run a business and say you have 1,000 people working for you, and this is like a major business and the business is going to go under, there's no reason to pay out the pensions to all the men and women who may have worked for you for so many years. No, just let it run, let it collapse, and just make sure you can take as much money from it as possible. Well, that's not, to me, a man of high value. You may have lots of money, you may have sexual access, you may have a yacht and a Bugatti or whatever it is that you want, but that's not a man living up to high values. And ultimately, when we die, we are going to be judged, and none of us are going to get out of that. Doesn't matter if you believe in the Islamic God or you believe in the Trinitarian, the real God, the Trinitarian God of Christianity. We're all going to be judged, and that's true whether you believed in Egyptian mythology or you believe in the Abrahamic monotheisms. many religions throughout the world have all said that once we die, we face a sort of judgment, a divine judgment based on what we do in the world. And so the sexual promiscuity of somebody like Aubrey Marcus is weak. It's undisciplined. This is a man who is totally worldly and seeking satisfaction through his breathing and his psychedelics and his transcendental meditation. And again, we're going to play some of these videos, quite funny. But then somebody like Liver King is also a man who has he has discipline, but he has no honor. And his whole thing is about being a primal man and eating raw meat and drinking blood straight from an animal that was just lived, of which, again, Christianity says we don't do. We do not engage in that type of behavior, but he does. And at the same time, he builds this whole supplement company, which gets tons and tons of young people buying his supplements, only to find out the dude was freaking lying the whole time about how many steroids he's actually taking. I mean, I remember, and you guys can look it up, More Plates for More Dates, Derek. He did a whole video on it, and Liver King, again, he does work out, no doubt about that. The dude does work out, keep his body in shape, but he totally lied and misled all those young people that were following him, that he was getting it from raw meat, raw liver, raw heart, raw intestines. No, the dude's jacked on steroids. And we're going to play a compilation video of all the times that he was lying to people that were sincere to him, and just asked him, hey bro, it's okay. Like, just tell us, are you on gear? No, I'd never do that. I would never do that. Turns out he was on a ton of it. So these are the kind of the stuff we're going to look into real quick. And then we're going to open it up to an open panel. So if you guys want to join, remember the link is right there in the video description. Please smash that like. And we are going to cover all these different things. Before we do, though, I want to say one of the best ways you can support my work, if you appreciate the stuff we're doing over here at Church of the Eternal Logos, you can become a website member, of which I just put a new video up for members. And it's a pretty heartfelt, sincere video of me sort of talking about where it is I'm at in my own life and my own journey and how I'm viewing the future. And so if you want to hear a little bit of some inside baseball, if you will, that I don't really want to talk about just on YouTube, but it's more exclusive for website members, you can do so by purchasing a website membership for $5 a month, or you can become a fitness membership, or you can get the premium membership for $25 a month and get all that stuff included. Also, we are going to be full swing this coming Wednesday, and we got some one-on-ones lined up. So if you would like to set up a one-on-one session to discuss whatever topic you may be interested in, you get my undivided attention in a one-on-one session. And if you would also like to sponsor a stream, of which I need to give a special shout out to AC. He's got some great sponsored streams that we're going to be doing in the next few days here. So shout out to AC for sponsoring a stream. But if you have a topic you would like for me to dive into and deconstruct and dissect, you can also sponsor a stream, and I would be greatly appreciative of that. Okay, so now let's get into all this mayhem, if you will. So first one I want to look at is, well, we can look at Andrew Tate. It's the first one that happens to be up. And what I want to highlight with this video is him talking about, and again, some of the stuff he talks about, the Matrix, the Federal Reserve, the central bank, stuff that I would agree with. I think many people that have sort of gone down some conspiratorial rabbit holes are going to be familiar with. But this is where I would say it's an exaggerated form of masculinity. It's a distorted form of masculinity. The idea that we become successful at all costs, that you create businesses to get rich. I would argue no. You create a business to serve other people. That's the difference between a man who's actually following God and is actually embodying moral values in his enterprises, is that, no, we don't just create businesses to get rich. We don't create things just to make money. We do things to be of service to other people. And I say that is the ultimate role of a man. But I want to play this little clip right here where he's giving business advice to young men, and why I would say this is a poor advice, and it's certainly a sort of distorted form of masculinity.
Take any more business. Take the 20 grand. It ain't going to add money in directly, so you don't need it. You need to be getting rich from your company. Look after yourself first, because when your company fucks up, you need to be able to say, okay, abandon ship. Woo! Abandon ship with fucking suitcases. Don't abandon when I abandoned T2, I had nothing. And that was a mistake. I worked my ass off, sleepless nights, millions of dollars through the bank for nothing. Don't do that. Look after yourself first. This is point 13. A business won't last forever. You need to get rich quick and you need to take the money. Take the money for yourself. Don't run a business for vanity. Look after yourself. Get that money and keep it. If you have to choose between you and the company, most of the time you should be choosing you. Obviously, it's a balance. You need to make sure your company's looked after. You need to reinvest in your company, blah, blah, of course. But still, you are the primary focus of your universe. Everything serves you, including your company. That's point 13. Don't make the mistake I made with T2, putting it all back in and not looking after yourself. There's a reason why you can actually put this in the course. Look him up, Sir Philip Green with BHS. Billionaire, bought BHS, which is a big clothing store in England, saw it was failing, took billions and billions for himself, let it fail, let everyone's pensions go under, let it sink. Once he realized, you know what do I do here? Do I just make millions and billions for myself, or do I save this company? Nah, for me. He actually lost his lordship for it because they thought it was such an evil thing to do. Because like 10,000 old ladies lost their pensions who'd worked there for like 40 years. Pretty evil. But the point is the same. As a billionaire, he understood me first, company second. So he milked it. Same thing with the big banks. When the big banks went.
So that's sort of his sort of take on, making material wealth at all costs. And then this is him describing how he actually made his millions, which again, I said was through a webcam service. And so I'm going to let him put it into his own words, and then we can kind of review it here in a few.
So I'd make like $100,000 a fight. You fight 2 or 3 times a year. You pay 20% to your manager. You pay taxes, but you're not rich.
So you get like 30 to 40% of the money.
Yeah. And I didn't consider myself rich, like 30, 40 grand chunks, twice a year, maybe 3 times a year. Living in London rents, need a car. Mm-hmm. You're trying, like you're not rich in any way. And that's actually the reason I retired, because I woke up one day and I thought, I'm giving 6 hours a day of absolute focus and energy to this. And I believe I'm smart enough that if I put that much tenacity into something else, I can be a multimillionaire. I truly believed that. I was like, I've realized now I've reached the pinnacle of kickboxing. My choice is either to change over to MMA, which I was offered to do earlier in my career, but at the time the kickboxing contract paid more money. I had to pay the bills, so I went kickboxing. Change over to MMA, learn to wrestle, change over to UFC, blah, blah, blah. But this is also like 7, 8 years ago where even the UFC didn't pay the money it pays now.
Mm-hmm. But the UFC still doesn't pay that much money from what I understand.
No, if you're like top 5 or champion, yeah. But most of the dudes you're going to see there in the prelims, they're getting 10 grand a fight, 9 grand a fight. It's nothing, right? Mm-hmm. So it'd be like starting my career all over again. And at the age of 28, I thought, I don't have the gumption to start again. I've been through hell for this. I've broken my hand 8 times. My ribs have been broken. Mm-hmm. I don't want to do this all over again. So
what do you do when you realize that, hey, maybe I don't want to keep fighting?
I decided to get rich.
What does that mean to you? When you're sitting there, you're getting, $30,000, $40,000 kind of net on a per fight basis. Is rich to you like, hey, I want a couple $100,000, $1 million, $20 million, $1 billion?
I want 30 or 40,000 every month.
30 or 40,000 every month. So about $500,000 a year, give or take.
Okay. If I had that much money, I could do whatever I wanted.
Okay.
That's what I decided.
So what's step 1 that you do?
So step 1 is, maybe that's how we ended up here together, my friend. Step 1 is decided to be very logical about it. Chess player, right? So it's like, I want money. What is money? How do banks work? How does credit work? What's fractional reserve banking? All these things we now know to be the biggest cons of the century, right? So I'm sitting there researching money for days and days and days.
And so he's getting ready to get into what prompted his webcam service business. Shout out to Keenan Beats for the highlight of the Topo Chicos. I am a fan for sure. But we're going to see here, and what I want to contrast this with is also his episode on Full Send is right towards the end of this clip right here. He gets into the true evilness of his webcam business, I would argue, and that he was behind the webcam and he would famoose these guys for as much money as possible. But in this podcast, I found he's a little bit more descriptive in how he goes about it. So we're going to listen to this video and then cut over to the next.
And then I get more mad because I'm like, whoa, money's trash and I don't have any. Now I'm really annoyed, right? I thought like everyone else did that, you know, everyone puts their money in the bank and the bank takes some of other people's money and lends it out. I didn't know they embedded it from the sky. I still at that point thought money was linked to gold. I didn't know nothing. So I'm learning all this stuff and I'm getting really angry. I'm like, now this is really annoying me. So anyway, I had a piece of paper there and I'm in my research phase and it start writing down some dude on YouTube. I don't know who he was, some dork. He was a pro gold guy. This is before, I mean, Bitcoin was probably around then, but like early. He was a pro gold guy saying buy gold, buy gold, buy gold. And he was saying the difference between an asset, a liability, et cetera, et cetera. So I started trying to write down what I had. I was like, I have an apartment, I have a BMW. I'm in good shape, but I already use that for fighting. You know, what can I do? I can play chess. I'm just writing down the things I have and what I'm good at. And then I kind of realized, I was like, I've got like 8 girlfriends. But because I was traveling the world, and if you win, you get a ring girl. It's kind of like she's banging the winner, right? You win a world title, you get to choose the ring girl you want. It's pretty easy, right? So I had a girlfriend in Slovakia, I had a girlfriend in France, I had a girlfriend in England, all these girlfriends.
Do they know about each other?
No.
Okay.
But they find out pretty soon. So I had all these girlfriends, so I'm like, maybe.
Which again, I would not recommend. Just as a religious Christian man, I find that dishonest and immoral behavior for sure.
Yeah, I could open a strip club and like be a pimp, and, you know, be a gangster about it. And then that opening a strip club.
That's literally the first thing you thought about was to open a strip club?
Well, I thought I have these beautiful girls. How can this is before like Twitch existed. So I was like, what can I do with these hot girls? I was like, it's just an asset, right? There's these girls and a lot of them were messaging me. They thought I was this millionaire world champion. They all wanted to come London, live with me, and thought I was a big boy millionaire and all this stuff. So it's like they do
because of social media.
Well, partially because of that, and also because they met me. I turn up, I fight, I win the world title, I leave. We're texting each other. They assume I'm this big boy, right? So I'm kind of like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I thought, man, I investigated strip clubs, way too much money. But this asset class of beautiful women was kind of on my mind for a few days. And then by absolute coincidence, I stumbled upon somewhere on the internet. I was on one of those websites where you used to download like free games and bullshit from. And in the corner somewhere it said, hot girls want to talk to you now or something. I said, hot girls. So I clicked on that, not because I was interested, but because I thought I have hot girls. And it was one of those webcam websites. And I was like, so these girls sit here and talk to dudes for money. So I'm going to get my girls to
and they're naked. They're just talking. How does it work?
It's 50-50. I mean, it depends on the girl, depends what she wants to do. But the majority of the job is not based around being naked. The majority of the job is based on being entertaining and being easy to talk to. And the guys who are talking to you need to find you, that you need to remember their name, remember their dog's name. You have to be smart. You can't.
So, yeah. So here as somebody said, human beings just using them as the asset. So his asset is he has multiple girlfriends, being a world kickboxing champion, which I have seen videos of him kickboxing. It seemed like he was a real talent, 4-time world champion. So not trying to undermine his physical athletic accomplishments, but again, the exaggeration in his masculinity for the distortion of this stream is that you make money at all costs, that you use people for your own self-grandizement, for your accumulation of massive wealth. As he advocated in the first clip that we showed, is that, you know, if your company is going over, just make sure you grab as much money out of it. Who cares about your employees? Who cares about other people? Who cares about people that depend on you or trust you? Just make as much money as you can. And so these girls who also, as he admits in other clips, that thought they were all his only girlfriend, as he's getting ready to highlight, he asked them all to come to London. And then they're forced to meet each other and realize that he has multiple girlfriends and that he wasn't honest with really any of them in regards to the exclusivity of their relationship.
You can't just be a girl and be a bimbo and be naked and make money. You have to be really smart, charming, interesting, happy all the time, positive. Mm-hmm. And I thought, I'm going to try this. So I messaged all 5 of my girlfriends, told them I had a job for them, explained to them what I was going to do. I was going to launch this company. 4 of them agreed. All 4 flew in, sat around the same table. They were all like, who's she, who's she, who's she? I'm like, well, you're all my girlfriends. 2 more left. And then 2 stayed. And that was the beginning of my little attempt at a webcam empire. And I put the girls there. And my role in it all was I did all the tech side of stuff, which is the first thing, of course. And then also, and I get called a pimp a lot, but and the reason I use the term is because I don't see it as a negative term. I see it as positively inspirational and motivating person.
That's an interesting interpretation of pimp, a positive, inspirational, motivating person. I've never heard a pimp described that way.
I'd motivate the girls. I'd make sure they did their job properly. If they had a bad day online, I'd come up with a good excuse for them. Oh, it's been a football game. It's been really busy. Don't worry. You're so beautiful. Don't be upset. You did better than her. You did the best today. I keep everything organized, put the schedules together, all that kind of stuff. And
is it hard?
It's hard because women have to want to work for you. Women have to want to obey you. Okay. It's hard. And you don't do that. This is one of the biggest misconceptions. I really want to clear this up. People in the movies and stuff, pimps are like aggressive, mean men. Complete opposite. Pimps are more like James Bond. James Bond's a pimp. He sleeps with a girl to get information. He doesn't care about her. He is absolutely and utterly a pimp. He doesn't hit her. He makes her love him. She does what he wants. He uses sex as a weapon to reward her, and then he disappears. That James Bond is...
Willie McJagger says, I can see why he likes Muhammad. Yeah, no joke, Willie McJogger. Hey, and shout out to that thumbnail, brother. Really appreciate that. By the way, guys, we got YouTube memberships here, and we got some great emojis for everybody who's a member. Share some of those emojis. And anyways, we'll continue on here. Smash that like if you guys are still here. We got 124 people, 65 likes. Smash that like for everybody.
Absolutely and utterly a pimp. So I say pimp because everyone calls me a pimp online, tries to go, haha, you're a pimp, like I'm gonna get offended. It's like, no, beautiful women wanted to work for me, and they wanted to work for me because I displayed supreme competence. And they knew if they worked for me, they'd make a lot of money. So whenever I was out, I'd meet a waitress and say, well, look, you're working 10 hours a day for pennies. You can work 10 hours a day for me, make 10 grand a month, 20 grand a month. And over time, I just build up this big little empire of webcam girls. At one point, I had 4 locations, 75 girls working for me. And
when we say locations, like, explain what goes into a location.
I just rent houses.
All right, so you rent a house, and in the house you just literally, hey, go live here. There's like technology set up, and then you can basically just sit in front of the computer and literally be on the other end of one of these webcams, and guys are paying by the minute, by the hour, or whatever, to talk to you. It's their choice whether they are doing it fully clothed or talking, getting naked, whatever, and then you're taking some cut of it.
Yeah, basically. So I had girls who would live in the house. And
that was pretty impressive. I just broke down the webcam business.
Thanks. You got it, man. You nailed it.
No background information.
Yeah, you nailed it. You nailed it. You nailed it. So the girls who lived in the house would have set amount of hours they want to do, and then we'd have rooms that they could book in and do X amount of hours. A girl could come and do one a week or whatever. We'd have rooms they could share. And then, very much exactly like you said. They'd go online, they'd do their hours, they'd have their regular customers, they'd get their money. And then I'd take around half of the money, around 50%.
You take 50%.
Around 50%.
Okay. Is that high or low compared to the rest of the
industry? I'll tell you why it's very low. It's low because every time a girl would quit and try and do it by herself, she'd make a fraction of the money overall because she hasn't got the instruction. She hasn't got the motivation. She's just lazy with it, right? And women have a very different mentality to money than men. If you show a woman how to make $1,000 in an hour, she'll think, I only have to work an hour a week. Whereas if you show a man how to make $1,000 an hour, he thinks, I can make $18,000 a day.
And so on this point, I want to highlight Czar Alexander. I did absolutely nothing wrong. Says, I wonder if Andrew Tate's fans would be okay with him pimping out their daughters or sisters. Yeah, great question. And, Andrew, I know for a fact, has a young daughter. She looked like she was maybe around 3. Yeah, I'm curious if he'd be okay if his daughter actually being one of the girls that he pimped out and made his millions off of by her getting whether scantily dressed or totally nude on a webcam so that guys will send in money. I'm curious if he would want his daughter to do that.
That's the difference between us. So if I had a girl working for me making 20,000, she got 10, I got 10. If she quit, she'd make 3 for herself, if that.
So his point also that men and women are different in regards to the pursuit of money. I can agree with that to a certain degree in the sense that obviously for us men, making money and our ability to be successful is a huge attribute that women are looking at when they're assessing us as viable life partners or not. Now, obviously not to the degree that he is, but women aren't as pursuing of money. And if they are, we typically see that as a masculine characteristic. So I kind of agree there. But here he's going to get into the absolute immorality of this whole webcam service. Again, that he highlighted. He had said, again, at one point, he said he had 75 girls in multiple houses doing webcams with guys behind the keyboards actually typing it. So I don't think there's anything masculine about lying to people for the pursuit of money. I would consider that or sort of effeminate behavior. You know, you look at the history of men in honorable warfare, not wanting to kill somebody from behind in their back, do it face to face. You see men, and we've talked about this with Father Michael Butler, is that we should be pursuing things like honor and reputation and service to our people, our communities, be that your parish, be that your local town, whatever it may be. But the idea that you're going to defraud people, lie to people to accumulate more and more and more and more money, there's nothing masculine about that. There's nothing to idolize about that. There's nothing to look up. And that's certainly not a... Yeah. So he has no remorse for the life that he lived. So that kind of concludes our Andrew Tate section. In regards to the sort of, again, you can already get the point of sort of the distortion and the exaggerated form of masculinity there. Now let's get to the more hot topic, and this is Adam22. So Adam22 certainly isn't part of the manosphere or the red pill community. Neither is Aubrey Marcus, not part of the red pill or the manosphere community. And really, Liver King isn't part of the red pill or the manosphere community. Andrew Tate, you could say, is, and he again sort of rocketed to fame because he has Hustlers University, has all these young men paying him $40 a month to have access to a sort of private group in which he would then pay people to go and post other links and create YouTube channels, create viral content. And so this is where, what was it, a year ago, 6 months ago, or no, it'd be about a year ago, actually. It'd be about a year ago that he just exploded on the internet. So now let's look at a different form of masculinity. And this is Adam22, the host of No Jumper. And so this is he recently got married. And so let's pull up Twitter real quick. Let's pull up Twitter and look at this. So let's search Adam22. Here he is. And so here's him with his new wife. Oh, how sweet. How sweet. Here's again, we're going to watch a clip of this. He interviewed his wife and the guy that she did a porn scene with in the same interview. But this is him. And then this is them mocking him that there he is cuddling his wife's belly with a black baby inside. But this is what he does. So again, pardon everybody's not trying to incite any of the passions, but this is what he does. He does porn. He does his OnlyFans, and he has this huge No Jumper podcast where he essentially interviews like rappers and former gangsters and stuff like that. So recently, we found out that his wife wanted to do a scene. And so here's her talking about, again, this is 2 days ago.
You guys, my husband finally gave me my wedding gift. And
her wedding gift.
Congratulations. This is a good gift. You guys, my husband.
So that's her wedding gift, according to her.
So what happened when you watched this shit?
I haven't seen it.
But when you do see it.
Which is a lie, because we found out, according to the guy, that Adam was actually filming the whole scene that his wife was sleeping with this man.
Right.
And she's going like ballistic.
I mean, she's supposed to, right?
No.
If she looked like she wasn't having a good time in the video, the point would not have been accomplished.
This is what's going on because everybody didn't watch y'all, right?
I'm slowly realizing that I'm never going to be able to talk about anything else on this podcast ever again.
We are. People are gonna put you guys' performance and this performance, and then what you're gonna say is, "Oh, she's acting." No, Adam, she's not acting. She's getting hit different.
She's supposed to enjoy it. I'm not trying to take that away from her.
Trey.
RKO.
Pretty degenerate stuff. So here's the guy actually explaining what happened.
Like, hey, Jason, my wife's a big fan. She wants to shoot a movie with you. What are your movie filming rates? I'm like, yeah, just 4K. He's like, okay, it's fine. We'll give you 10. I'm like, all right, cool. So I go there and I shoot the film with the woman. I dropped some severe glizzy destruction on him. And the husband is recording this, right? I'm like, this is weird as shit. I'm like, some people, I never understood it, right? Nonetheless, so I dropped the glizzy on the woman or whatever. So she dropped the go 3,000 and she's saying, hey, Hey, little man, you like that? He was like, yes, man.
Disgusting, disgusting, disgusting behavior.
You said that you was gonna let her do it once, and then if you have the call, if you don't want her no more dudes, so what you gonna do? Is this gonna happen again?
Now, the one thing that I definitely am gonna do at some point is fuck her with another guy on
That's
Plug
what
Talk.
I was. That was.
Oh my God, these people are so disgusting and degenerate. It's gross. It's absolutely gross.
What's the vibe like between you guys? Anything I should know about?
I don't think there's a really vibe. I think it's like a business thing, but I feel just very uncomfortable with.
Yeah, I can't really watch any more of this stuff. My point is only to highlight this is presented as a man who has no insecurity, right? So the idea that this is tied to masculinity is that Adam22 presents it as the people who keep mocking him and making fun of the fact that he lets his wife do porn scenes with other men, that he is a porn star with his wife, is that he has no securities, and that these men who only want women to be just with them. So this was actually a criticism that Adam22 levied at Andrew Tate, because Andrew Tate talked about how he has girls and that he doesn't allow any of the girls to be with other men. So he's allowed to be with multiple women, but the women have to be exclusive to him. And that was part of Adam22's criticism of all these conservative, these red pill guys, and how they want to control women, and that a real man isn't insecure if his woman wants to explore her sexuality and do all this stuff. What are you talking about? So I really don't want to watch more of that. It's absolutely disgusting. It's disgusting. We can move over to the Liver King. So the Liver King, then, he is another example of somebody who's another exaggerated form of masculinity. So here's him lying for a minute straight about the use of steroids.
I don't touch this stuff. I've never done this stuff. I'm not going to do this stuff. Much stuff. Never taken steroids. I've never done PEDs.
That was a lie. Yes, I've done steroids. And yes, I am on steroids.
I haven't taken it. And I don't take it.
That was a lie.
He's got an ass full of steroids. I think invariably some people want to look like Liver King. They want to look like me. And what you're saying is you've got to do that if you want to look like him. And number one, I don't do it.
That was a lie.
The question has always been, do you take steroids? Do you take PEDs? The answer to that is no.
That was a lie.
I've always told the truth. I still tell the truth.
That was a lie.
The answer is no. I've never taken steroids. Face it head on. I don't touch this stuff. I've never done this stuff. I'm not going to do this stuff. Much stuff. Right. Never taken steroids. I've never done PEDs.
So he's an absolute liar. And what he told people is that he got this jacked and got this fit from doing things like this, going to Africa,
all the way to the top. How long do you think this will take me to drink?
drinking blood from a killed, like some type of African deer.
Out.
Or no, it was a cow. If you watch the video, it was a cow. And so they slit the throat of a cow, and he just, oh my, jeez, what the? Hey, mods, where are the mods at? Can we have any mods in here? What the heck is going on? Mods, can we get some mods in here? Dr. Crispy, what do you, can somebody help me with all this crap that's coming in here? Golly. Who does this stuff? Who goes and just posts this stuff in people's live chat? Dude, Dr. Crispy, can you watch some of this stuff, man? Oh my gosh. Somebody help. Jeez. Standard moderator. What the hell? My gosh. Okay. Dr. Crispy, you're a mod. Somebody please stop all this stuff from coming in here. Who the hell does that type of thing? Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. All right. Anyways, how do we do members only chat? How do I do members only? Somebody tell me how to do members only chat. Does anybody have any idea how to stop all this crap coming in the live chat? What the hell? Guys, how do you do a members only chat? Can somebody tell me? How do you turn off the chat? It's great that you guys tell me to do something. How do you do it? My gosh. How do you turn off the chat? I'm already live. How do you turn off a chat once you're live? You guys aren't helping me at all. I'm in the stream. Okay. Customization. Aha. Got it. All right. We got it. We got it. Woo! Sorry about that, fellas. Guys and gals, we are being invaded by a bunch of degenerates. Anyways, moving on. Again, Liver King, he was talking about like some of the ways in which he then presented how he got so fit.
I've done steroids. Yes, I'm on steroids.
Liver King has been exposed for using steroids. In a leaked email, it shows his day-to-day routine, which most of it is taking steroids.
I've done steroids. Yes, I'm on steroids.
Liver King has been exposed for using steroids. In a leaked...
Liver King here, and this is what I'm having for my Monday dinner. We got liver with breakfast, lunch, and dinner because liver is king. We got some femur bones, not human bones, cow bones. We're going to get the pure marrow right out of it. And with breakfast, lunch, and dinner, we're always going to have a whole beef protein shake. We got a Liver King bar already crunched up in there. These Liver King bars are the bomb. We got some...
And this is what he presented on how he got his physique, which is hilarious.
Carnivore steaks. We got a testicle, because why would you eat a vegetable when you can devour a testicle? We got some beast meatballs in here. It's a blend of organs. And we got the salad, because no dinner would be complete.
Okay, I'm going to turn the chat back on, but we're going to do a delay. Somebody was saying you can do that slow mode. Okay, there we go. So now we have the slow-mo chat on. There we go. So, guys, help me out for all the mods. Help me out with any, if we get raided again by these idiots, make sure that you ban them from the channel, please. Everybody else, please smash that like, and we're getting ready to open it up to the open panel. Anyways, let's check out some. So Liver King, this is kind of how he's rebranded himself now, is He just kind of dove straight in with this whole image and everything. So you guys kind of get it. You get it. And then we got Aubrey Marcus over here, which here he is bowing down to women. He says, Christine Hassler, guide us through the process where the men bow at the feet of the women present. We bow for the thousands of years of disrespect and oppression of the feminine. We bow to our own unconscious participation in a system which has advantaged men. We bow for our own lapses and failures to acknowledge the divine feminine within and without. And so
experience, not only sexually, but to get to know someone in. One of the reasons I got into open relationship was because of just the natural tendency and desire for that variety of experience, not only sexually, but to get to know someone intimately, right? So it's like, yeah, open relationship, that sounds like a good idea. And philosophically, I think I can handle it. And, you know, I understand that love is abundant and people like variety. So if my partner likes variety, I like variety, maybe we'll try this. Like, but going in for just the sex or just the new experience to try something else, I really liken it. My favorite analogy is saying, like, that's like toasting bread by walking into a burning house and holding a piece in your hand, right? Like that's going into.
Yeah, if you get only in a polyamorous relationship because you only want to have sex and not because you want to have variety of sex, that's like walking in a toaster oven with, what an idiot.
Open relationship for the sex. Wow. Because what you're really going to be doing is you're going to be lighting a fire to all of your core validations, all of your insecurities, everything that you're using as a reflection to look back on yourself and find yourself worthy of love. Like, that's what's all going to come up. One of the reasons I got in.
To say some weird shit, like they did a study about what people say when they're climaxing, when they're orgasming, right? And they say, well, one of two things in general. I mean, of course, there's some outliers to say some weird shit like rhinoceros. I don't know.
Sheep monkey.
Yeah, exactly. But for the most part, they say one of two things: either their partner's name or "Oh God." And what the way that he was actually using it was to say that actually those are the same thing.
Your partner is.
Oh my gosh, your partner is God. These are somebody who worships sex. And that's exactly what Aubrey Marcus is. He's an effeminate man who worships his own sexual drive and passions. And he just creates these new age excuses for why he does, in fact, worship his own sex.
There is God.
Exactly, because your partner is the face of the divine, a face of the divine, a way in which the divine has taken form. So you're really actually saying the same thing with two different names.
Yes.
Slightly different flavor, but two different names. But it also speaks to the fact that we intuitively know that at that moment we're in contact. We're in contact with the divine. We know it. They did a.
The visions that I always have when I really drop in is of women standing side by side, holding hands together.
And this chick right here is his apparent partner right now, this chick.
Saying, enough. We no longer accept to participate in this world in this way. We no longer accept the violation of the feminine. We don't need to yell and scream at you and get you to validate us for it, but like we are embodied in our truth. We know who we are, and we know what we stand for, and we do it together. The visions that I always have when I really drop in is of women standing side by side, holding hands.
And there's this great, let me see if I can find it real quick. There's this great, let's see, it was him talking about what was it? It was him talking about Reclaiming your power through
The
sexuality.
exile part is the part that feels shame around the fullness of being in your full fuck. The part of you that's willing to just be fully surrendered and open and to touch God through your sex. And that is.
And this is an occult belief that somehow you get closer to God through sex. This has to do with sex magic, and this even can get into tantric practices like in southern India and tantric Hinduism or tantric forms of Buddhism, for example, like the Dalai Lama. For example, anybody who's dove into Tibetan Buddhism is going to be familiar with the fact that they do an immense amount of sexual rituals that often include children. That's not made up. That's actually part of it. Ortho Eric says Aubrey Marcus's dad invented the fleshlight. No way. No way. If that's true, that totally makes sense. The dude is a massive coomer. That is hilarious. Ortho Eric. I had no idea about that.
That is something that I feel very few women and men have truly experienced. And there's so much distorted energy around our sexuality based on how we're brought up, based on religious traditions and the shaming that comes around that expression.
Yeah, because sex is for married couples. It's a gift from God within the context of marriage. It's not for just the immense hedonism which these people promote.
And, you know, in that container, like there's so many aspects of life where is sex really talked about in this way where we can access our power, where we can connect to the highest frequency that we can access through our ecstasy and rapture? Is that something that's really talked about in the world? The exact.
I definitely wanted to get into that polyamory because I thought it's almost like you think you know where your ceiling is and you think that you know where you exist amongst the average as far as couples go, or maybe where your jealousy goes or the way that you look at love. So I don't know how much background you have on me or not, but I was in the adult industry for like over a decade. And my husband and I also kind of had to navigate that. Like, what does that look like? And for me, I saw a lot of women that kind of compartmentalized it. So they had to be monogamous if the husband or boyfriend had to be monogamous, but then they were in film. And I was like, that's not fair. And that's not how I want to explore this. I want the same rules.
Hey guys, I bet that Kira chick in the live chat, I bet that is a dude. So don't be surprised. I'm sure that you are a dude.
For everybody. So we navigated that. It wasn't always easy. There were certainly tears and fights. And I think we came out on the other side so empowered and fortified, like we were forged through that experience.
That's disgusting. That's absolutely disgusting. Anyways, this is the kind of masculinity that's presented by Aubrey Marcus. Again, notice all the women.
Mountaintop and say everybody's learning just the right way, and I'm just going to go on this mountain and meditate, and that's fine if that's your path. But the Bodhisattva says I could do that, but I feel the pain is real from everybody else in the world, and so I'm going to go down and meet them in their pain. That's always going to be hard.
And like, even when you like, it's hard to even tap into that and then still exist in the world, and you're getting emotional, and I'm too. But how do we live that? Like, what's that journey?
You feel it. It's real.
He's crying.
It's an honor to those who are hurting to feel their pain. The response to outrageous pain is outrageous love. But first we have to feel the people that we're going to help. Old Hermetic principle, the law of resonance, like attracts like. We need to feel it to give us the motivation and then alchemize our own energy into something more positive and draw that world into our own reality. A monk might go to the mountaintop and say, everybody.
It's a nonsensical worldview in religion. He had one video, I'm seeing if I can find it again, where he's literally telling a woman that if his life was devoted to allowing her voice to be heard, then it would have been a life worth living. It's a pretty ridiculous. Let's see what we got.
Words are not the craft of the poet, they're the obstacle, trying to express the ineffable.
Look at him wearing a Christian cross. What an absolute loser. Where was that video? It was It was so ridiculous watching it. There's him and his partner at Burning Man, I bet. Probably passing her around. They're into that for sure. Where was it? I saw this video of him talking to this woman about if he would just devoted his life to allowing her to have a voice, that it would be an amazing accomplishment in my life. There's Jonathan Paggio on here. I don't know.
This is so hard for me.
Anyways, guys, I'm going to begin to open it up to the panel. So, guys, hop on in. Anybody who wants to join the live stream, the link is in the video description. The link is also posted right here in the live chat. Do the shirtless one with the microphone, okay? This one right here.
Words are not the craft of the poet, they're the obstacle, trying to express the ineffable. They're clumsy things, approximations at best. Words? How are we going to talk about this week? You can't. It's a felt sense. It's a gnosis. It's what we know. But ultimately, the words don't matter because people can read the language of our knowing. They can feel it, and that's the only thing that matters. I remember for 12 years, I came home and I talked to my parents about the psilocybin journeys and the ayahuasca journeys and all of the journeys I had. And I was so excited. I was like, you guys got to do it. And they're like, nah. And one day I came back quietly from a Wachuma journey with Don Howard, and I just hugged them and I just smiled and I just laughed. And I was just light and free and transformed. And all of them were like, we got to go.
Now I remember where it is. It's in here. Watch this. So he's all about women's rights, women empowerment.
My life's work was to do nothing else but clear the way for your voice to be heard and your magic to spread across the world. It would be a life well spent. Yes, my life's work was.
Oh boy, it's hilarious, guys. Hop on. The panel is now open. Again, anybody who's able, hop on the live stream here and let's dive into it. I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are on these idiots. Here's some of the more recent. Oh, the red pill versus the blue pill.
I'm gonna have sex. I'm gonna eat some food. I'm gonna get distracted. I'm gonna go on my Instagram. I'm gonna watch Netflix, and I'm not gonna worry about it. I'm not gonna take that red pill that opens me up to reality. I'm gonna keep taking that blue pill every single day. What is that blue pill for us? I don't know. Painkillers, alcohol, distraction, pornography, whatever. But we want to stay asleep. We don't want to do our thing. We're afraid. We're afraid to answer the call of our soul, the call of our identity, reaching for that thing that we know that we're capable of. I'm going to have sex. I'm going to eat some food. I'm going to get distracted.
Third dimension is basically a dimension where everything has 3 points of view. We call it past, present, and future. But when you add a fourth vision of that, you have eternity, because there is a fourth line that connects past, present, and future.
Timelessness.
Exactly. That's the fourth dimension. So it's very difficult to understand the fourth dimension from the third dimension. The only way is a dream. When you dream, things happen without time, without space. Sometimes you just turn around.
The biggest lie of all that you've yet to get, but hopefully you will, or you're getting soon, is that you think the love and acceptance is exogenous, that it's from somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
So why is that the lie, and why can it never, ever be fulfilled?
Because I'm still not loving myself.
Right. And now be a little bit more articulate, because I'm going to hold you to a higher standard.
Mm-hmm.
So in language, why can it never be fulfilled? And this, by the way, for anyone also listening, this is the genesis of every addiction.
It feels like the only place that it can really come from is myself, because whether or not, like the same mirror that Aubrey just reflected of, you know, even with that, it's not satiating or fulfilling the love within me for myself.
Right.
It's almost like a hungry ghost. Like,
yeah,
if I don't get that, then I'm not enough. So I'm always going to be searching for it. It's insatiable.
It is. That's hence why I said it's the genesis of every addiction. So listen to my definition of addiction is you can never get enough of something that almost works.
Oh, there's one I wanted to. Here we go.
I was so interested in polyamory because I was so desperate for love because I wasn't giving myself enough that I needed to get it not just from one person, but from at least 3. And where did that drive come from? Well, it came from a deficit.
Yeah.
And the deficit in my own ability to truly love myself. It's a beautiful philosophy that just doesn't typically work in practice. It's taking out of account human nature. And human nature doesn't work in that way. And I got to learn that from experience. I was so interested in
So he was interested in polyamory because he just didn't love himself. Shout out to Blab Black, throws in $5 and says, add Destiny, Sneeko, Alex from PWF, Jack Murphy to that list of frauds. The top of the manosphere is filled with literal cuckolds. Receipts are out there. Yeah, I saw the Jack Murphy. He was actually, his wife was pegging him and they was filming it. Rolo Tomasi's a massive dork. Sneeko's dumb as a box of rocks. I did a debate with Alex. Again, not impressed with neither his masculinity nor his intelligence. So I totally agree. And Destiny, we all know Destiny likes to get on his knees and blow men as well. So incredibly, incredibly degenerate. This is what secular masculinity looks like, guys. It's incredibly degenerate. I want to read some super chats while we got people joining. Looks like Josh has joined us. Shout out to Josh. Want to read a few super chats real quick before we dive into the open panel. Again, anybody is free to join. Kira, if you want to talk about why men need to worship women, you can feel free to join. Shout out to George, throws in $3 and says, I didn't know which is worse, letting your partner bang other people or getting off on watching it. Adam22 makes me want to puke in my mouth. Seriously. I didn't know people were so degenerate as Adam22. Shout out to Dr. Vagisil, says, people view marriage as a secular contract instead of mirror of Christ's love for the church. Adam pimping out his wife a week after marriage is not understanding the spiritual price for that in Ecclesiastes. Yeah, no joke, man. No joke. And BMX 1966 throws in $10 and says, great stuff. Thank you very much, BMX 1966. And Giga Lobster Supreme 420 throws in $5 and says, this is better than Netflix. Well, thank you so much, brother. Let me remove this. Thank you so much, Giga Lobster Supreme 420, for the $5 super chat. With that being said, I'm going to bring Josh. Welcome, brother. What's going on, man? Are you able to hear me? Josh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hey, what's up, man?
What's going on?
Not much, dude. What'd you think of what'd you think of our 4 examples of secular masculinity?
Oh, jeez, it's rough, dude. It's rough.
It is rough, right? Dude, Adam22, I can hardly even watch those videos, dude. It's like too much. It's too degenerate.
Same.
Yeah. Ortho Eric throws in $4.99. He says there's no difference between these dudes' lifestyles and the homosexuals' life. No joke, bro. You nailed it. There is no difference between a homosexual lifestyle and this sort of sexual fantasy lifestyle that these people live. Next one comes from Young Boy, throws in $2 Canadian, says Adam Grand Mason is real name. Dad works for Clinton. No way. Oh my gosh. That makes so much sense. That makes so much sense. I had no idea about that. Jeez. These people are absolute degenerates. So Josh, where you at, bro? Are you in the US?
Yeah, Kansas City.
Oh, nice. Are you Orthodox?
Not yet. I'm getting there though.
Glory to God, man.
Yeah. It's I was raised in a Protestant household. There's a lot of things I don't really agree with on that side of things, and I don't know. The more I look into it, the more I think you guys are under something.
Well, hey, that's we love to hear that. Do you have any opinion specifically in regards to these sort of distorted forms of masculinity and how it's affecting culture or downstream, upstream? Any thoughts, generally speaking, from your perspective on this topic of distorted masculinity?
Oh man, yeah, I would say. I mean, it's kind of raging out of control. But my hope is that the pendulum is about to swing back to equilibrium, or at least close to it. That's kind of where I'm coming from. I think that, yeah, with all that, man, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on. Obviously, with the feminization of men, masculinity in general, the whole Black Lives Matters movement, feminism, all the stuff that's going on. I feel like we're starting to get, hopefully, to the peak of that. And like I said before,
it does feel that way. Do you feel? I feels like the manosphere red pill thing, it has to be dying out here pretty soon. I mean, how many times can you talk about being high value, hypergamy, you know, all this different stuff? It's kind of low IQ after a while. Oh, James Lindsay. I can't stand that James Lindsay guy. That's another. I'd love to do one on dorks in the truth sphere, James Lindsay and Rollo Tomasi. But doesn't feel like that the whole manosphere thing is beginning to lose some steam, or what's your thought on that? I mean, Pearly Things is still like dominating. That Pearl Davis, she's like getting millions of views. Yeah, I don't know what to think. What's your opinion, man?
You know, I kind of started thinking that. I'm not super into the whole red pill thing. I don't know a ton about it, but just from what I hear, it does seem like it's dying out a good bit. But man, it's hard to say. Like you said, that I did just recently watch Pearly, whatever her name is.
Pearl Davis.
Pierce. What's his name? The British.
Pierce Morgan. I saw that clip too, and I thought she held her ground pretty good.
She did. She handled it well.
And that's where, you know, I can see the claims about Pearl being or grifting potentially in the regards to doing like she's put out a course on becoming a wife, or it was like a wife lessons or something. The chick's not even married. And
yeah,
so
that's
it's
what
like
I was gonna say.
that seems like a bit of a grift. But in regards to many of the topics, I know that she's become friends with Rachel, who I'm very close with. Andrew and Rachel Wilson, very good people. And so, you know, I think more women parroting some of Rachel's talking points, I think, is a good thing. But yeah, it seems like there's so much interest right now in talking about relationships, how relationships are supposed to work out. Yeah, exactly. My brother BLA says, shout out to Based Homeschool Mom. Shout out to Based Homeschool Mom. I mean, she does great work talking about the occult roots of feminism and how this stuff has inverted our reality. But, you know, with Pearl putting out like wife courses, you know, I'd like to see her get married first. I'd like to see her be in a long-term relationship. I'd like to see if she can actually cook. You know, I know she comes from a wealthy household of Americans from the Chicago area that moved to England, I believe. But, you know, that's where I would like to see people also living the lifestyle, even though it seems like she's really coming around in regards to traditionality, how Christianity's been cucked in certain ways and stuff like that. Yeah, Austin DeTulo says Pearl definitely needs to get a hubby quick. Yeah, no joke. Dr. Vagisil, what's up, brother?
Hey, thanks for letting me in. Yeah, I just I don't know if you read the super chat where I was talking about the whole Adam22 situation, where it's like that whole thing really just stems from basically because people don't answer the question of like, does God exist? And if God doesn't exist, what does that logically mean for my life? Or if God does exist, what does that ultimately mean for my life? And when they don't know, when they say, oh, God doesn't exist, then they just see everything as like, I need more resources, more sex, and all this other stuff. When you read Ecclesiastes, it's like the guy already tried it and he's like, oh, you get all this knowledge, it just leads to pain. And you realize the more you know, the more you don't know. You have a bunch of women for sex, the sex becomes devalued, and then you don't have that relationship, which is very clear with this whole OnlyFans thing, with him allowing all that stuff. But it's not just that, it's that he already has so much money, and then he's trying to justify that as like, oh no guys, it's we need just like another $1 million because our life would be so much better, even though not having that whatever money, it's ridiculous. Like how can you justify? It's like, okay, you got married. It's like you don't understand what the word marriage is, or like what that means in terms of how you're supposed to act. Like they have the worst part is the daughter. Like imagine growing up where your dad is like justifying this stuff, and then she's gonna grow up with like this resentment of men, and like she's gonna probably go down that same path because the mom is gonna be the one that's like has the pants in the relationship. Basically she doesn't respect the guy, and then he's just there with like trying to make money from this ridiculous podcast where it's just like him basically cocking himself. Like just that's just not a good, this is not a good path.
Yeah, the Adam22 thing blows me away, in that he had this reputation as sort of like an edgelord doing porn, you know, sort of this 21st century man covered in tattoos, part of the black hip hop scene. And turns out he's just a massive cuck that, you know, it is just another sort of femboy, really. I mean, incredibly feminine.
Yeah, well, it's crazy how he has all these tattoos. He does all this stuff. He's like, oh, he's supposed to be like, I guess, what you would stereotypically think is like the edgy guy that like, oh, women want this guy. But it's like, he do like threesomes with his wife and like people he would have on his podcast or something. And then,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then it's like, yeah, continue.
Well, I was going to say exactly. I've seen those clips. Again, I don't watch his stuff, so I'm not real familiar with any of his stuff. But I did see clips in preparation where, him and his wife, which is called like Lena the Plug. Like what? What
more
is
like butt plug? Like
that's what I assume it means, right? I assume that's what it's about.
Isn't a plug someone who like gets you stuff? Honestly, I don't even want to know.
I don't even want to know either. But yeah, so they would have like female porn stars on along with like hip hop artists, and then they would like do videos with them. So pretty interesting. Along with like hip hop artists.
Ridiculous.
Hey Kira, what's up? Hey, can you mute the audio? I can hear my.
Hold on 1 second.
Hey Kira, what's up? Hey, can you mute the audio?
How do I do that?
The YouTube. Click out of YouTube. You're in StreamYards. Yeah, there we go. So what's up, Kira? I saw that you think that men need to worship women. Can you hear me? Okay, looks like she hopped out.
She actually, okay.
That's what she was saying in the chat, at least. She was saying that men need to get down and worship women.
Well, I mean, either she's saying that as a troll, or if she thinks that, then, well, it's very clear that like she grew up in an environment where she was able to manipulate guys through her body, and she basically has gotten accustomed to being able to engage in that type of behavior, and then have this control over guys, not respect them, and then still have this weird like self-loathing. Again, this is just based on like that one comment, but like with this whole thing where, you know, guys are like, oh, I have to have sex with all these different women. Like I've been in situations where, you know, I've knew some girls and they like had a boyfriend, they like matched with me on Tinder, and then I had to like purposely act socially handicapped to like get out of that situation, because it's like, okay, well, my carnal mind is like, well, you could, you know, utilize the situation, but it's like, no, that's terrible, because it's like, imagine if you're that boyfriend or something like that, that'd be terrible. Like it's a violation of trust, because the whole, like, again, the marriage is built off of, you know, the image between like Christ and the church, you know,
right.
Christ died for our sin, like that level of love and commitment, like that's the only way out. People think that, you know, the way out of like the matrix is like have a bunch of sex and like not commit, because they're ironically like so afraid of you know, this cheating and commitment and 304s, but when
Right.
you're like you're not conducting yourself in a way, you're not creating the image that you want to have ideally, and then I don't even know what yeah, how do I, as I was saying, like, yeah, just basically that image of, you know, again, people, because of this whole 50% divorce rate, obviously, you know, there's no fault divorce, all that fun stuff, but it's really comes down to people not understanding how to act in a marriage. They're like, oh, I like this person, I have fuzzy feelings when I'm around them, so that means we're going to get married, because marriage is this contract thing where we are now going to have, you know, more rights or something, or we get tax benefits. But it's like that's ancillary compared to like the main thing that you're supposed to get married, which is why the divorce rate is so high, aside from the you know, what is it, the no fault divorce, and the way that, you know, the media tends to poison women's minds with how to quote unquote control men, which creates the effeminate men that then they don't respect, and then leads to more problems. But,
Right. Kira, what's up? Can you hear me? You're muted right now. Can you unmute? There might be a little microphone emoji to unmute. There you go.
Can
There
you
you
hear
go.
me?
I can, but you still have the YouTube. I can hear myself in your background.
That's weird.
Just exit. Yeah, just mute the YouTube window, whatever window you have the YouTube open, and then we can just, because we're technically in front of that. That has like a 10-second, 15-second delay. So what's up? What's
yeah,
up?
so actually back to your question, when you were saying that I said men need to worship women, it wasn't like saying only men.
Okay.
Because back and actually like before Christ's time, women were considered pharaohs like men. So I'm saying like equally, like women should worship men and men should worship women as well. It shouldn't be like a one-sided type of thing, because back in the day, actually, there were women kings and women pharaohs and stuff like that. So I wasn't saying, oh, men should only worship women and that's it. It was more so like back and before, like, you know, even before Christ times, women were considered kings and pharaohs. So yeah.
Okay. Would you identify as Christian or
I'm sorry, what did you say?
What is that noise?
That's thunder.
Would you consider yourself Christian, or how would you identify spiritually?
No, I do pray to God, and I was a Christian growing up.
Okay.
Raised, I was a Christian, but now as a grown woman, I consider myself just a spiritual person. I'm connected more to my roots. That's a hard question, because I had parents that were both different religions. My father was Muslim. My mother was Christian, so I was raised Christian, but I was raised in a two-religion household, so I never really got fully invested into both sides. But I consider myself spiritual because I still pray to God every night. When I pray, I still pray to God. So
Which God?
The God that I feel close to. I pray to God.
Well, which one is that? That's all I'm asking. Like, there's multiple, aren't there? For example, my God as a Christian is a Trinity. So if you don't believe in the Holy Trinity, then we don't pray or worship the same God.
I don't put a label on anything. I believe and I pray, and when I feel something speaking to me in my soul, then yeah, I don't put a label. I don't say, oh, I believe in the Quran or the Bible or this. So yeah.
Do you believe in marriage? Do you think marriage is a good thing, or an old institution that's antiquated and needs to be done away with?
It needs to be done away with, yeah.
And so what are you in favor for, like polyamory?
Not necessarily polyamory, but like I don't know. Like I believe do what's best for you, but marriage.
Well, what if somebody's a map and they're attracted to minors? Is it okay for them to do what's best for them or fulfill their fantasies?
Absolutely not. No.
Well, on what basis would you say that? I'm curious.
The basis of that's a child, and that's disgusting. So yeah.
Well, what I'm being told, at least according to people that are in favor of children that are transitioning their sexual and gender identity, is that they're conscious sexual entities. And so as soon as you're able to choose what gender you are, that you're sexually conscious, and therefore they can consent to sex. So I'm asking you then, based on what standard is that wrong? Because as we're moving, I would argue, back to a pagan society where that stuff was normalized. Orgies were normalized. Adult sexual relationships with children was normalized. I'm against all that because I believe it's totally against the will of God. It sounds like you would be okay with it.
No, but there's a lot of Christians that do bad things, like rape children and
Agreed,
have sexual intercourse with the same sex, and those are people that pray to God. So
I agree. Do you think that Christianity justifies that?
No, but there are people.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
There are people that that claim to be to that religion that does, horrible things, and I don't judge them on that. But like I said, like I am not specifically, saying what religion is the right religion, but I'm just a spiritual person. But I would say absolutely not. Like it's not okay to, have children do this or marry. No.
Right.
That's disgusting to me. No.
Right. I would agree with you. I think it is disgusting. And my only point in asking you about that is because I totally agree with you that there's many Christians that have done atrocious things in history. But I would say the reason why we can say it's atrocious is because they're violating the standard that Christianity puts forth as ideal. So Christianity would say we're all sinners. Nobody's perfect. So we've all then transgressed that ideal standard, that moral standard that God's laid down. It's just that I would say most of us in the Western world have adopted a Christian morality and we believe in it, although many people have rejected everything else that comes with it, like the historicity of the church or the Trinity or the divinity of Christ or something like that. So I think most people in the world really like Christian morals and they like societies that are driven by Christian morals, but then they reject the tradition that gives them those morals.
But are you the religion that you are because you were raised that way or because you feel that way?
So I converted to Eastern Orthodoxy. I grew up Methodist, gave that up. My studies led to China. I studied Taoism, Buddhism. So I have my PhDs in religious studies, focused on Gnosticism, and my specialty is the history of Western magic. So I was very much interested in paganism, ritualistic magic, Gnostic sects, and stuff like that. Eventually, through my own research, it brought me towards what I believe is the true church founded by Jesus Christ and the apostles, which is Eastern Orthodoxy, not the Catholic Church and not any of the Western churches. Yeah, that's, as you can see with these icons.
Yeah, and the funny thing that I see a lot of Christians do, they would light sage around their house, and that's a form of witchcraft, which is against the Bible. And so or I would see a lot of Christians, they would make a manifestation to get something that they would like in life, and that's actually a form of witchcraft, and people don't know that. And I see a lot of Christians do that. So that's why I ask always, is that a religion that you were, tradition to, or did you choose that in your heart to do so?
Right.
Because some people, they just follow what they hear, but they don't really they don't do their own research, basically. So
what are your thoughts about this manosphere, the rise of the red pill, or you can go into today's specific topic was distorted forms of masculinity. And my argument is that all these secular forms of masculinity, be it Andrew Tate using women to make millions and millions of dollars through webcam services, I would say that is degenerate and immoral. I would say Liver King taking steroids and being this primitive, like physical specimen, but lying to everybody that he's taking steroids and claiming it's because he's eating like raw organs. That's immoral. I would claim that Adam22 cucking his wife and being into that whole thing and watching it, and not only watching it, but according to the gentleman that she had intercourse with, the porn star, he said Adam was there filming it. That's degenerate. And I would then tie Aubrey Marcus and his sort of new age spirituality as is a sort of inversion of toxic masculinity. And that is like toxically obsessive with sex, orgasms, and like the divine feminine. So that was kind of today's focus. What are your thoughts on any of that stuff?
Yeah, I want to preach about like not preach, but talk about a little about like masculinity these days, especially well, I'm Afro Latino, but like a lot of I would just say, you know, in a Black community, like masculinity being very low in this community, especially like as a Afro Latino, like, you know, we very proud and everything, but like we are celebrating gayness in a way that's like, okay.
Are you in favor? Are you in favor of homosexual or the LGBTQ stuff or no?
I'm not.
Well, I agree with you. We also are not. We're in favor of traditional relationships between men and women.
Like, I wasn't raised that way specifically, but do what you got to do, but don't preach it upon other people to accept it. You know, I feel though, if that's you, that's you. But why other people have to accept, you know, that? And why is it so widely celebrated? And why is it so like, okay, now in the Black community, we have like gay churches and like we're open up like gay festivals and it's a lot. So, and especially I live in Atlanta, Georgia. So there's a
you're
lot
in Black Atlanta.
Oh man.
Yeah.
You're in yeah, absolutely.
And I'm originally from Dominican Republic, but now I live here. But it's a lot of that going on, and it gets worse and worse like each year. And I don't agree with it, but I don't hate them as people, or I don't think like, oh my God, like I'm not that type of person. But it gets a lot, especially in my community. I can't speak upon like, you know, the white community and how they feel or how is it, you know, affecting them. But as Afro Latino, like it's a lot of that going on. Like a lot of that.
Yeah, it really
and
is.
it's bringing down like young men. Like I have
agree.
nephews and yeah.
So welcome Nadi. So what would you then say you had a young son or your nephews or something? Where are they to look for a masculine role model?
I would hope it would be the man that I would choose to be with, which will be their father. So I would hope so.
Right.
Not the outside, you know.
Right. Nadi, you got any thoughts? We're kind of hitting on the distorted forms of masculinity. Can you hear me?
Hello.
There you are. Yep.
Yeah, I'm just listening. I can. Yeah, I'm just listening to what you're saying.
Go ahead. All you, Nadi.
Hello.
Go ahead. Yeah, we can hear you.
Sorry, someone else was talking. Yeah, I don't know what I want to say just yet. I was just thinking because I just got here. But
okay, well, you feel free to hang out and chime in whenever you want.
Yeah, the distorted forms of masculinity. I mean, I don't really know. The other guys you were talking about today live a. But I do have a lot to say about Andrew Tate.
Right.
And the manosphere in general. So.
What are your thoughts on the manosphere?
But yeah. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, no problem. AC, what's up, brother?
Not much. Kids are too cool. Took off. They got friends.
Okay. So I was talking about this.
Nadia, I think your internet's lagging a bit. It's hard for us to hear you.
Am I freezing for anyone? You guys?
Yeah, you're freezing on my end.
A little bit.
Yeah, we're catching about every other word.
It's like skipping on my end.
Yeah, you can try to turn the camera off. It may help with the audio. If you have a slow internet connection, if you turn your video camera off, like Dr. Vashasil, then your audio may actually work better. Yeah, like that. Can you hear us?
You try hopping out and coming back to
Yeah, you can hop out, Nadi.
She's really
Yeah,
good
I
on the
can hear you.
manosphere.
Yeah. Okay. So, what are your thoughts on the Manos? Oh, she just hopped out. So maybe her connection slowed down. Anyways, what's up, AC? What are you thinking, bro?
Oh, I have a bunch of thoughts in my head about this, and I'm telling you, you want to talk to her a few times and reach out and look at some of her material on this.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with her stuff. I'll check it out.
Yeah, she's doesn't have a big following, but like I checked out some of her stuff. She was in the manosphere for a while, and she kind of like gets into some of the stuff you talk about with like the Great Reset and how this manosphere and then the modern woman. It's like you're making two kinds of people that suck that sell each other out.
Right. Yeah, I would say the red pill manosphere secular guy, he's basically the same thing. He's the inversion of the OnlyFans chick that he hates. Right. He's mocking about the girl that's sexually promiscuous, uses her sex for attention on social media. And yet, in a way, they're kind of the inverse of that.
Yeah, and I, it's like Orwell had this great line at the end of 1984, after he makes the men and the women rat on each other, kind of the way the communists and the totalitarians do. And then he meets his girlfriend, and after they both sold each other out, and they have to hug in front of the cherry tree, and they say, "I sold you when you sold me," which is part of this like rhyme about the cherry tree that it was foreshadowed, like when they do the mind control stuff ahead of time, so that when it actually happens, you're ready to get triggered. It's like that line was already pre-programmed for them.
Mm-hmm.
But with these men and the women in the manosphere, I noticed some of the manosphere, it's almost like they really like the women sucking, and they want to gaslight everybody like you could never find a good woman ever anywhere.
Well, that's where Rich Cooper, I was just watching.
Don't even try it, right? There's no redemption for anybody, so don't even try. And then it's like
exactly.
People always show like George Floyd or stir up the race when they show just every time there's violence. The manosphere shows like every time like some pastor's wife leaves him and cheats on him while he's dying or something.
Right. No, I think that's a great point. I saw Rich Cooper recently tell young men never to marry a woman. You can't trust women. And I think that's totally harmful to sexual just relationships between men and women. That's terrible advice. The goal is to be a moral man so that when you meet a moral woman, you guys can build a relationship where you're built on rock. You're not built on sand, that you guys can trust each other. I mean, for my wife, we want to be absolutely honest with each other. That's the goal of the relationship. And I think some of these men, yes, women may lose attraction after a while because men give up on themselves. They gain a lot of weight or whatnot. Yeah.
Or vice versa. Yeah.
Exactly. Go ahead, Kira. You got thoughts on that?
Oh, no, I was just saying vice versa. I mean, women can give up on themselves too. So it's not just men. Yeah.
Right.
And it's very to focus on people.
But that's weird.
Oh, go ahead. Am I interrupting you?
Oh, no, you're good. I'm sorry.
Okay, I was going to say it's really good to focus on, working out and being healthy and stuff.
Being healthy.
That's something you're doing too. That's very good. But too, like when you become a certain age and if you got kids and shit, like, and you got a job to do,
right?
Like, others always having like a six pack, taking pictures and stuff.
Right, exactly.
And like there's just like this narcissistic, like fake filtered photos and
yes.
Like
well, that's the commonality between the OnlyFans girl and some of these manosphere guys, whether it be Aubrey Marcus or Andrew Tate, is that they're obsessed with themselves. And so again, as I talked about with Father Michael Butler, who came on, when we talked about what masculinity is, it's somebody that provides more than they consume. So masculinity, especially when we look at the role of Christ, it's always about sacrificing who I am to help other people. And that's why we admire strong generals or great politicians or great religious figures, is that they're doing something that gives back to the collective, and they're producing something. But in regards to some of these manosphere guys, it's all about like me. And then they're like, oh, look at the women. They're only concerned with themselves. That's why you guys need to just focus on you. It's like, no, you're doing the same thing.
It makes them weak too. It makes the men weak. You get like out of this entire manosphere, you get like one Andrew Tate, who's like their wet dream to actually have like somebody be what Dan Bilzerian was pretending to be. Like,
right.
And then the rest of them are like descending into like the cuck wars, like, and all snitching on each other over it. And then damn well their followers, like if someone's actually living like that lifestyle, they're not like paying for Hustlers University. They're like a drug dealer or a businessman or something out like living their life. They're not online trying to show everybody what an alpha they are behind their PFP, like so you half these guys are fans, and then they're looking at like the pictures Rolo puts up, and then they're like getting back on porn and stuff after they were getting in their gym groove because they have no church, they have no relationship, and it puts everybody divided instead of having a community, instead of having kids. And like kids, if you don't have kids, you don't have skin in the game for the future.
Right.
You don't care. Like when I see all this like this child trafficking, it infuriates me. It makes me want to actually do something because I have kids. You know, like it's absurd. So they make everybody weaker to these elites, and then they turn around and look at the damage the elites have done to the man and the woman because of modernity, and say
Right.
they feel like the progressives gaslight you with progress and say there's no going back and you have to accept this. So just do whatever you want. It's like a recapitulation of Thrasymachus in the Plato's Republic, where he comes up with the idea of just do what thou wilt, do whatever you want, and it gets
Right.
this actually makes a weak society where no one's actually working together. It's non-cohesive. So,
Right.
like, you know, Tomasi's over there. Let's give some good advice, but then he's sitting there like trying to look like he's 30 with his filter on. You know,
I know, bro. Well, Rollo Tomasi, I'm basically convinced he's kind of a dork that feels like he's finally sitting at the cool kids table with his red pill, rational male book. And it's like he intellectualizes what it means to be a man, regurgitates the same stuff over and over and over and over and over, demands to be called the godfather of the red pill. And meanwhile, he's like a wannabe like Andrew Tate, basically. I mean, he wishes that's who he was, but he's not.
He is obsessed with game theory and Machiavellian power dynamics, and believes that everyone else is too.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I know this from experience as well. Sorry.
Well, speak to it, Nadi. What's your kind of thoughts on all the manosphere stuff?
Well, I spent about 5 years as a men's rights activist in the UK.
Okay.
So I'm not just someone that's observed this from the outside.
Uh-huh.
I understand all the different groups within the manosphere. I was part of one, I guess. And I remember when there's this event called International, it's called ICMI, International Conference for Men's Issues. And I remember that Rollo decided to start attacking him and Anthony Johnson back when they were still friends. They started attacking ICMI online because its keynote speaker was a female lady. What's her name again? Janice Fiamengo, right?
Okay.
They were saying, why do you MRAs have this woman as your keynote speaker? Why is she your leader? Isn't that beta? Blah, blah, blah. And then they just went on at ICMI. And like, I remember Paul Elam being like, what the hell's wrong with you? Like, we all like your book. What's just chill. And I remember he blocked me on Twitter because there was this massive thread with everyone just jumping in, and then he just blocked a bunch of people. I'm just talking about one example where I noticed that he was responding by saying, how can you guys have this aesthetic of women being leaders in your organization or people that you want to champion? It makes you look weak. And I just sat there thinking that all him and Anthony Johnson at the time seemed to be obsessed with was just like power dynamics, thinking that everyone is trying to be the alpha, or everyone's trying to be, top of the game somehow. It's like they projected that onto other people, because most people involved in ICMI they're not obsessed with that kind of thing. There might be some people that are into it, but not on the level that he is. That was my observation of him anyway.
Yeah, that makes sense. George, what's up, man?
How's it going, y'all?
Good. You have anything you want to add to our conversation? I was gonna. Yeah, go ahead, man.
It just seems kind of ridiculous that this thing it seems to recur every once in a while, that we have this reinvention of what a man should actually be, what it shouldn't be, and we just keep getting progressively worse and worse and worse. And same thing with women. It gets progressively worse and worse and worse over time, and more base, more desire, more passion driven than anything else. And it just seems to be it seems to be very reactionary, but in the worst way possible. And all these conversations seem to be happening on, they are longer form, which I suppose is a good thing now, but on social media, with Twitter being the example where people just quipping back and forth. And it doesn't seem to be solving anything, considering it's getting more and more degenerate. And it just seems like it's never going to end.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
So how do you think over time, I don't know how to put it, the guy in the plaid that just spoke, how do you feel over time the woman's role has changed, in your opinion?
I think that when there was a push to move them out of the home and into the workplace, through the feminist movement and through the other avenues, it gave them a material out, but not a spiritually fulfilling life. So the material has been increased and become more important, but the spiritual has decreased. So, and that goes for men and women. It's not just women on the women that this is. Though I think men are more reactionary in that fact. So while women were pushing for that, the men were responding in kind. So I feel as though as the women have gone more and more down that road.
Hey, can you get rid of this guy, please? Sorry,
This George guy, or
one showed with a gun at his head. What the hell?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Maybe he's just a troll. Yeah, that's not. Maybe he's trying to get you like flagged or something.
Sorry,
That's not cool.
that was not funny.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, you're getting all the trolls tonight, dude. I swear.
They are, dude. They're out and about.
Oh, sorry.
That would be my response.
I feel like before roles were assisted, between genders, women or men, before, times or modern times or whatever, women would go out and get food for their children. So I don't think work is actually the right word to use that's making people feel differently. I don't know if I'm saying it correctly, but I feel like even before times like this, like modern times or whatever, women would go out and get food or, for their children as well. So I don't know. I wouldn't say work is the issue.
That's a fair.
Well, I would, if I chime in, I would say that our goal is to create mothers. And so the whole goal for me in looking for a partner and then what it means to be a man is to allow a woman to be a mother to the best of her capabilities and provide her with the things that she needs. So that would involve protection, that involve providing and doing labor and finding a way to provide. But the way you look at a woman shouldn't be just through a sexual lens, which I think the manosphere continually keeps a sexual lens on what a woman is.
Yeah.
And very few of them are talking about, motherhood and the goal that what I want is a great mother.
They have no idea what a great mother is. I did a whole thing about this earlier today. I was asking a bunch of them, the ones who just respond to you on Twitter or whatever. And I was saying to them, what strengths do women have? What value do they bring? And most importantly, what are they good at that men aren't necessarily good at? What do they complement men with? And I just got the same type of response, which was, oh, they can have a baby, but it's just they push the baby out and they can, we can be intimate and they look good.
Wow.
Yeah, which makes you which is why there's a viral clip of Andrew Tate talking about would you rather sleep with the prettiest feminine transgender or would you sleep with the oldest female, biological female? He's like, oh, you'd be an idiot not to sleep with the transgender, and it seems like this manosphere stuff almost ends in homosexuality because the relationship to a woman is just for self-gratification. And that's exactly what gay men's relationships with each other are. It's that, the intensity of their sexual relationships is why they are caught up in their fetish. And it seems like the manosphere is almost moving in that direction.
They say, I've heard a lot of them say that that men are better at everything than women, right? Everything. I mean, everything. So, and coming from the men's rights world that I was involved in, I had to have quite a lot of arguments and discussions with some guys who were rightfully trying to fight for 50-50 custody and family court issues. But then they would end up saying, well, this woman is not letting the father see the child because she's breastfeeding. And we don't think breastfeeding is that important. And so therefore, we have to enforce 50-50 custody on this particular scenario. And I found myself having to argue with them saying, well, is she being reasonable? She's trying to be like do parental alienation or something. Okay, but you don't need to start making this radical egalitarian argument to prove your point. And it was just another manifestation of what we're seeing now, because I saw Pearl on Twitter earlier saying, I can't think of anything that women are good at all. And I was like,
That's
what?
interesting. Yeah.
Come on.
But as a father, anytime I've especially when my kids were very young, anytime I had to give my wife a day or two off and take over, it's very hard to be a mother. It's not easy.
This seems to be a very common. It seems to be a very common thread, especially with the younger guys too. That it's just women are just there for pushing out babies, to DPH's point, and essentially good for nothing else.
That's scary.
And that's like it also sounds like a horrible role to fill as a dude, because then that means you have to pick up every single other ounce of slack that there is.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so once she pushes out the kid, you're like done with her? Like that's scary. That's scary, to even think that about like your significant other or a woman you're dating. Like, okay, you're here to have my kid, and once I'm done or bored, goes on to the next woman. Like that's kind of scary to think about.
You're seeing this play out almost at a symbolic or semiotic level too, across the culture. Now you're turning women into surrogates for gay men, and you're basically having these men pimp their own girlfriends out on OnlyFans. So if we started prostituting our women out to corporatism 100 years ago, get them into the workforce, and we bought into that because we could get extra revenue stream. When during industrialization, when the farm was being broken, it was tough for men and we needed the money. And so you could lose sexual morality to get laid. We dropped the boundaries that you always talk about. It was men that let this happen because these women's rights come from men.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And for us as Christians, the relationship between a husband and a wife is the relationship between Christ and the church. And so the idea that a woman doesn't have a role that aids in the completion of a man is ridiculous. As we always talk about, a man has to give up his own will for him to actually fully mature, whether that be towards his wife. That's what we do in the Orthodox marriage ceremony through the crowning, or monasticism. It's focusing on, your devotion to Christ, but you have to give up your will in this idea that you're just going to focus on I'm just going to go my own way. I'll have a girlfriend, or maybe I have multiple girlfriends. I'll just spin plates. We'll have sex. We'll have fun things. I'm going to make money. This is, as E. Michael Jones has highlighted, modern dating is the way that gay men met in clubs, gay clubs. And so it seems to be the same thing.
And I would say too, if you're not moving towards this image of Christ that's meant to unite man and woman, it's an image of marriage, and then you're actually having just you with your own highest spirituality is the image of you as a man. So you're just with a human. Of course, it's going to end up with all this homosexuality because it's spiritually homosexual.
Right, exactly. It's spiritually to homosexuality because the relationship between men and women is a spiritual connection, as Christ and the church is.
Yeah, as we were intended and created for.
Exactly.
So
it's really just.
Go ahead.
Analogy was always super dumb to me because it doesn't answer why you would be wanting to spin the plates in the first place. Why do you want to have more than one plate spinning? They almost presuppose that
fuck niggers
is good. So I got nothing.
The trolls hate me for some reason. They fill my chat. They always try to join my streams. I don't get it, dude. The trolls hate me.
Yeah, they hate that we're exposing the current thing, that it's like really
Yeah. Well, I think this is why Rolo kind of made fun of you address this stuff when you guys didn't even, attack him that hard.
Right, and that's what I had pulled up. That's where the first guy, when he joined, I didn't see what he was doing because I was trying to address that, is Rolo. So I did a stream with Jay Dyer, and basically we were not rude to anybody, really. I thought we were very considerate to the whole manosphere and the red pill community. Rolo apparently watched it, didn't have one thing to say about anything I said regarding masculinity or Christianity or the red pill because I deconstructed his worldview. But he says, I'm endlessly entertained by all the talk-touches that YouTubers carefully place in the background of their sets. Funko Pops, flags, religious symbols, etc. They know their sets will be more scrutinized than what they say, so it's so meticulously curated. As if, like, I'm not actually an Orthodox Christian. I actually don't believe in the things I talk about, which is ridiculous. Anybody who knows me in real life. And so I responded, laugh out loud. You have an actual substantive critique of anything I said or just interested in aesthetics? No comment. And I ratioed him. He only had 69 likes. My comment has 115. But he comments to other people, but he wouldn't comment to me or anybody else.
Yeah, I've made a couple arguments with him, and he responded to one or two of them, but then he also ignored certain ones, and he's like trying to avoid the spiritual dimension of things. And one of the things I said to him is like, you're half the manosphere, really, besides all these like cucks. The other one's Tate, and he already went religious. You've had Jordan Peterson for 10 years. We're allowed to talk about religion, and theology is becoming a thing. Like, so you already know that there's more than just this hollow materialism, but you're acting like that hasn't happened, and then you're resorting to science as though the entire scientific world, half of them aren't even going here already. That's one. Number two, he knows you have more substantive arguments than a lot of the kind of Christians he wants to make fun of, and he understands what's going on over here and sees that it's a threat to his future audience and his future relevance. So he needs to straw man you, and you can't actually have the discussion. I mean, you don't even have to debate. Like, you guys could have a friendly conversation on what you agree on, but he knows you're out here pointing to something more that actually builds community and has something more than he has to offer. It's going to weaken his game.
Yeah, these guys want to be gurus. They want to be worshipped and be like a guru figure, but they don't have anything transcendent to offer. All they have is this idea that I'm more of a man than I used to be, and women are terrible, and don't trust women, and don't marry a woman for sure.
Yeah, he's also projecting, because notice how he said, oh, you're the images behind you, but he doesn't understand what icons are. And
yeah, he equated them to Funko Pops.
Yeah, because that's what he does with his image, with his stupid little beanie hat and his little guitar that he looks like Skeletor and like, I don't know, some type of demented guy who's in his 50s. But yeah, he projects that onto you, even though it's like you're not. This is the same thing with Fresh and Fit, where they're like, oh, look at all of these 304s we found in Miami. Let's roast them for 3 hours and then not have, any substantive conversation, and then just not, create anything productive, and then do the same thing again just because we get that emotional spike and then just get more viewers. And, they again, like you said, they don't have that spiritual dimension. They also just stay within this like Darwinist way of thinking. Like, okay, if you like, they keep saying, oh, we're evolved to do X, Y, and Z. And it's like, well, then you don't have any morals. And then you can't really blame women for acting the way that they do.
Exactly.
And that's on top. Yeah, continue.
Yeah. Well, I don't mean to cut you off. I apologize, brother. Feel free to finish.
Okay. No, but what I was just quickly saying is that, well, by default, it's like, then this whole plate spinning is just them chasing whatever the chemicals in their brain say. It's like just crystal meth, but like with sex. And then they're just like, oh, we got to have more women. And it's like, oh, this woman's boring now. And then they're going down the path that Ecclesiastes says. Like, if they just read Ecclesiastes, they could have saved themselves 3 hours a night,
Right. I totally agree. And that whole idea of the relativistic morality that's one of the points I made with Jay Dyer, that he clearly didn't want to address is if you're upset and in society, there's an injustice that men are oppressed, that men are beat down by the justice system and child custody and all this stuff. Well, why is it wrong? Why? And he has no objective standard, as even Fresh and Fit and what was it, Destiny and Sneeko, when he called in and they made him, well, what's a high value man? What's a high value man? And they had nothing. They had nothing of substance. Because he said, well, it's contextual. It's relative based on where you're at and who you are. It's like, then there's no point in being a high value man. Like, there should be an objective standard for what it means to be a high value man. As I said, as a Christian, it has to do with living up to high values. And that's really what the saints are. And that's what the history of men that we honor have done. They've lived up to high values and they embodied them.
And we have females. There's even a place for women to transcend men too within the church.
Exactly. In Orthodoxy, the Theotokos is the highest person who's fully human. And that's the idea that the patriarchy hates women. No, I mean, I can see that.
Yeah, I don't get it why some men think it's so cute or cool to troll on women or record them when they're doing bad and like, oh, look at this woman, look what she's doing, look at this, or post it. Why is that so cool nowadays? You know, I don't get it.
I think it's just because the media worships women to the point where you have this extreme backlash the other way, where guys are like, oh no, women act this way, which is like, obviously it's not good to generalize women either. It's just the way that the media manipulates women into thinking, like, they feed into a lot of women's need for attention and they redirect that attention towards self-destructive means that they know is going to not be conducive to making mothers or families. And then they exploit that through, yes, girl, you know, oh, you're the best, blah, 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 all women are queens type of thing, where it's like, you can't criticize a woman's appearance. But then, you know, you kind of, if you're going through life and you're just like dealing with a lot of these modern women that don't have God, or you're in a very densely populated city, then, you know, you encounter a lot of these women that have high narcissism.
How do you know if that woman doesn't have God in her life?
Well,
you can see a woman on the beach and having the best day of her life and record her and pretend like this whole image of her, this is what I'm saying. And you could portray this image of a woman and put it online and post it about her life that you don't even know the woman personally, you know what I mean? So I'm just saying, like, how do you know that woman specifically doesn't have God in her life if you don't know them specifically? So.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. Obviously, yeah, it's not good to generalize women. That's not what I'm saying. I was just talking about the way that anyways, what I think you're getting at is, like, obviously, you know, it's not good to generalize women. You're saying, how would you know if a woman has God in your life? Well, that is, you know, as guys, we're supposed to first seek what is inside of a woman's heart versus, like, what we get programmed into with, like, social media. It's always about women's appearance and they're using their body to get attention. So we should, you know, obviously look, oh, does she have feminine qualities? Is she humble? Is she generous? Does she have good manners? Does she have all this stuff? And then, you know, you get into the looks and stuff. But yeah, just
right.
Well, you also this
Go
backlash.
ahead.
I mean,
sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say that I think one of the reasons this has become so popular now, it's gone past just reacting to women's bad behavior.
Right. Agreed.
It's because they don't believe that there's any redemption for these women. So
Great point.
They don't want to. They don't have a concept of forgiveness, right? For a start. So imagine the woman was doing something wrong and she has done some evil or whatever, and she is narcissistic, but then she actually finds Christ and actually tries to change. They don't believe that she is capable of changing.
Right.
And that much evidence as possible.
And on that point,
yeah.
And on that point, I had somebody, part of the manosphere, I was doing an open panel and they're pushing against me. Or no, it was the debate with Alex PWF. He's like, because I said that obviously there is a ideal of female purity, like chastity and virginity, same with men. But there's a spectrum. He was like, well, how many people does she sleep with where she's no longer pure? And well, it's a spectrum, and like a woman can change her heart. Like we shouldn't. It's not like, oh, she slept with 5 people. She's, 6 is the study, the academic citation they always reference, where a woman who slept with more than 6 men who she's entered a relationship with, they have a lower satisfaction in marriage and a higher rate of divorce. And it's like, well, you can't just, again, castigate somebody or say that somebody's, lacks any sort of repentance either, because people change and people grow. So that's the difference between a Christian worldview on these things than I think this secular manosphere is that, we have ideals and we have standards, but we also don't like demean people or perceive people are unforgivable. Now, if she's like an adult film star, I would recommend not starting a family with her.
That's another part.
She could find a man who's her equivalent.
Right. Exactly.
And these people are pretending that, like, if you go to church and stop being manosphere and go to church, that if there's a woman there that slept with 10 guys and goes to church too, the church is gonna like make you marry her or something. Like they're on Twitter, like they're gonna make you marry a woman that's got a high body count, like because they do. That's what it's like. That's not even a thing. It's so.
It's not a thing.
It's dumb. And I'll tell you another thing with this backlash against women too. I think some of it is that a lot of these men don't know how to be men, and they have this cartoon ideal of being this badass who just like talks trash to women and acts so tough too. So that's part of it. And I think it's reaching an archetypal level too, where you're seeing the erasing of women by the most disgusting of men with the trans community, where you could tell some of these guys hate women, like that they absolutely hate their revenge on mother, beat a boy. It's so disgusting, and I think it's archetypal, and and they're doing it with science, right? So I think looking at the big picture, we don't have to go all the way through right now that you've gone through. And if you look like the Seraphim Rose case of history and the real deep Orthodox course, that alchemy was the thing that placed Christianity for science, and it was seeking the hermaphrodite, which neutralizes the image of God.
Exactly, and that's always the occult ideal, as opposed to Christianity that says men and women are made and we're different and we come together as one flesh in marriage. That's the mystery and the sacrament of marriage. They're in favor, and alchemy was always in favor of the hermaphrodite, somebody that has male genitalia but female breasts. And so we look at our culture and we're seeing this being glorified in front of us, like all these beauty queens that are transgender women. So again, it's a man. It's a man with male genitalia with female breasts, and then they get their facial surgery and all this different stuff. It's an occult inversion of what a woman is and what a man is.
Yeah, and you can see some of this demonic hatred of women in some of them. You showed the video clip of the one woman that couldn't get another woman that came in and started hitting people with an axe. Yeah, I saw one.
Wow.
And you go ahead and try to protect your children from him if he goes in the bathroom talking to mothers first, trying to intimidate women. So and I'll tell you, well, think about this divine hermaphrodite. What else doesn't have a gender?
An angel, a demon and an angel.
Yeah. So, and what hates man as image of God?
Satan and demons.
Lucifer.
And destroy us as image of God. So I think this is like a symbol of the demonic, in my opinion.
Absolutely. I mean, that's why Baphomet is a goat. It's half animal, half human, half male, half female. And that is the image that the Satanic Church still uses, which again was developed by the Knights Templar and all that different stuff. That's a whole different history, but it's the same ideal that we have to bring the opposites together in our own man-created amalgamation, and we're going to worship that.
Dialectic.
And that's where, again, I think we need something transcendent. We need religion to give us a structure on what is a beautiful archetype of a woman, what is the ideal archetype of a masculine man. And when they're together, we can see that, and that is beautiful. And when they create families and they have children, and the children grow up, and you maintain that innocence. Because if we look at our society, why are they trying to teach kindergarten boys about sodomy and masturbation? It's to take away their innocence, because as soon as they do whatever they do with some other boy in kindergarten or a girl, you're destroying the innocence of both those children. And that's demonic. Christ says the children are the closest to him because of their innocence and purity. And therefore, that's what parents who love their kids, they try to protect that innocence and purity. And this demonic society is trying to take it from them.
And a lot of this is linked to all this pornography addiction too for everybody, which is increasing the pedophilia, right? And it's increasing incels that want to take their revenge on society by destroying the most innocent thing there is. So if you're seeing this increase, you know, Tim Ballard, the guy from The Sound of Freedom, the real guy that it's based off of, about, would say the prayer. He would pray the verse where Jesus says, you know, it's better to have a millstone be tied around the neck of somebody than when they hurt one of these innocent children. And he would actually pray that to get the strength to keep doing his job. And he made the point that there Jesus isn't just flipping over tables for the money changers. He was calling for like straight violence. So to say that we have to put up with this and to pretend that this isn't something completely evil is so absurd. Like, we can love and we can pray for our enemies, and we could try to get people to repent and turn, and we could try to speak at the level of ideas and win things peaceably. But as men who were created in the image of God to enforce boundaries, we don't have to let people do this. In fact, when it comes to money tables, we're allowing it to happen because we're prostituted to it. We're scared of losing our jobs and stuff because we've signed ourselves over to HR policies and things like this.
True. That's true. That's true, man. It's a fact. Go ahead. I don't mean to cut somebody. Michael or George?
Oh, I was just going to say real quick, when it comes to pornography, especially for guys at a young age, when you get introduced to that like really perverts your mind, especially because we as men are more visual. Yep. So as soon as you get that as a kid, you don't understand like how detrimental that is until later on. And it basically retards you spiritually. So yeah,
it retards you spiritually, and it continues the objective. Again, I'm not trying to sound like some feminist, but it does objectify women, because then all of a sudden you start looking at women through your pornographic sexual preferences, and then you're moving through the world, and every woman you're matching up to these women that you watch have sex, and it's absolutely soul destroying. And as Dr. Vagisil said, you know, kids, young boys are being introduced to pornography at earlier and earlier ages. That is, again, taking away that innocence quicker and quicker and quicker.
Yeah, I would say that when I was a kid, like I wasn't like some perfect guy, you know, but like we would go get it from somebody's father, you know, who had the magazines, and we'd have to like hurry up and put them back. We didn't like have pornography in our pocket at all times with a cell phone.
Exactly.
But the schools were starting to try to kind of like tell us, oh, it's normal to do that, you know, to look at that. And like, I couldn't imagine right now with these kids when they're growing up during their formative years. But the studies say that like men that had used it, like that are like my age and older, that didn't grow up with the internet, it's much easier to stop doing it. But like with these kids, it's like 10 times worse. And I remember reading those studies like probably at least 5 years ago. 5, 6, 7 years ago. So like, can you imagine how bad it is for these kids? And now they're trying to sexualize them at a young age. And that's what they did in Brave New World, which the Huxleys said was a real plan. But they named all the elites at the time. They had the erotic play for children because then they become slaves to their passions. And then there's no guilt or no shame. They talk about Christianity without the tears. So they're making it work.
Which ties into the recidivism. I don't mean, Kira, I'll let you go. But it's tied to the recidivism rate of children that are sexually molested, and the number that grow up to be homosexual or then also have a sexual preference for children, because they've shown that when a boy, especially but a child, the first time they have an orgasm fires a neural network, and how that orgasm acquired, whether it's from an old man or a priest or something like that, it fires a network that now you get turned on by that. And eventually you're going to grow up and you're going to be a recidivist pedophile because that's your kink. And so, like you said, the pornography, this is establishing neural pathways in young boys that no wonder, as they said, it's equal to a cocaine addiction in regards to being able to quit pornography for the guys that are addicted.
Well, there's a reason that it was.
You know, David, may I chime in on that?
I'm going to head out. I got to go.
Can everybody hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Michael.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry if I interrupted anybody. Just you know, getting into the aspect of porn, you know, David, would you say that also one of the biggest dangers of pornography in general is like, it's never just one category. You know what I mean? It's like it opens a Pandora's box to where everything just comes flooding through. And it's like, then it's just everything all at once, and then you're like, oh my God, what the heck did I just like it, that's where all the unnatural stuff can come in.
Right.
Have you heard of Sissy Hypno?
Yes.
I
Shout out to
have heard
Rachel Wilson.
Don't
look it up, bro.
Look it up.
Do not look it up.
What you're talking
So
about.
thankful I did
I
not,
looked
man.
it up.
Like,
I just
oh,
said-
no.
Yeah, exactly. I just know what it is. Okay.
What is
well,
that?
So to
That is-
explain,
it is it's Lord have mercy moment. Oh,
yeah.
I'm sorry. Go
So
ahead,
there's
David.
there's a whole rabbit hole of something called sissy hypno porn. in
Okay.
which- yeah, well, I'm not going to get into details, but what it is basically using like neural beats, things of different frequencies that are aid in what they argue of getting these messages deeper into like the subconscious mind. And it tries to get men. So it starts with sort of, you could say, less intense forms of pornography, and then gradually gets more and more and more and more intense to the point that a man then becomes sexually interested in becoming a woman. So that's why it's sissy hypno. It's a hypnotic form of pornography to turn men into women and be sexually turned on by that. And so then we start looking at all the trans movement, and we look at all these men that are raping and sexually assaulting women in female prisons and female bathrooms.
Yeah, that's interesting to me.
Yeah.
Especially, have you ever heard of the case where the man identified as a woman and got about a couple of women prisoners impregnated?
Yes,
But he identified as a woman, but he still had a penis.
exactly.
Why was he allowed to even roommate with a female? I'm just very confused. Like, that's not even like.
We're with you. We think it's absolutely degenerate. But the idea of that, if whatever gender you claim you are,
Yeah,
that
like I'm a
ideology
female,
says-
but I still have my body parts that are a male. That's weird. So,
Yeah.
okay, so let me put you in a room with the female. Like, I don't know. That's just weird.
They didn't want to be mean.
It also seems like the extrapolation of EMJ's
That is
of
crazy,
libido dominati kind of just to the end. It completely takes over, and that's the reason why a certain country that will remain named decided to broadcast it to a bunch of people as a weapon of war, because it is spiritual warfare, and people are just so enthralled in their own sin and their own passion that they don't really take into account to what they're doing to themselves. And the hard line that they draw between, especially with a lot of boomers and people of the older generations, they'll say, okay, this is okay, we'll allow a certain type of moral and sexual perversion, but anything else is off the table. Well, how are you objectively drawing that line then? Because you're just drawing a line in the sand that doesn't actually exist. You've already overstepped the boundaries, and you want to draw another boundary for everybody else.
Right. It's absolutely true. And that's where I think the simping in our society and the over promiscuity of women, whether it be the Cardi B or even Nicki Minaj or these people, is continually getting men that if you are addicted to porn, that's going to trigger you over and over and over. And it's going to weaken men. And so we live in a society where they're totally trying to get the children sexualized and then make the entire society overstimulated with sexuality, so that, again, like libido dominandi, that we then are totally subservient to our sexual desires, which psychology, look at i.e. Freud, the sexual energy is the strongest energy that's within a person. And so if you can manipulate the sexual energy, which is easier to do with men than women, because men have all the fetishes. Yeah, some women have fetishes, but it's much rarer. Men get in these weird, kinky, like sexual fetishes, and it has to do with, again, their neural pathways and childhood trauma and all types of stuff.
And he was such a quack, but he certainly got that. He certainly got that right. He hit the nail on the head with that, and then drove the cart all the way down the road, collecting the money bags as he went, telling everybody that they wanted to bang their mom and their sister or whatever it is.
Right.
But he certainly
while
was
he
right.
himself was interested in his own family members.
Yeah, but he certainly was right that it is one of the most powerful passions that we have. And if you can't find a way to overcome it, or if you have succumbed to it, go to confession and confess, then it's just going to, like all sin, it's going to rule your life, and you won't be able to get over it on your own. And I think that's one of the things that people don't really see, is that this whole self-help of the manosphere, is so Gnostic in origin, because it really elevates yourself as you are the only power in this world that has the opportunity to either A, subvert your passions or give in to them. And there's nothing else going on here that could ever have an impact on what you do.
Right.
Hey, David, you mind if I chip in with a question more of a positive nature?
Yeah, that absolutely, brother. What's up?
I know it's a long shot today because our culture is literally infested with lust and all the rest, but something that's been on my mind, it's been there for a little while now. You know, just how much can even just one couple bring about a change or do something to, I don't know about reverse, but basically to simplify it all, what happens if a couple these days, they do make it to marriage and they have their purity, even if it's just one partner? I mean, is that in and of itself going to start helping to, even if it doesn't like turn the tide, can it really be like a pushback of like some form of resistance to like the collapse and all?
Well, my general, and we can open this up to the panel and see what the ladies also think about this, is that I don't think the marriage is going to be safe because both or one partner is a virgin. But I think a relation, like good, strong, solid, honest, integral relationships between traditional partners, I think absolutely can change the world, because the people that are against everything we're talking about promote sterile sexual relationships, birth control, homosexuality, or whatnot. And that if you do build a family and you're with somebody that you can really trust, then I think the long-term outlook is quite positive, especially if you have multiple children. In regards to the virginity, that is a signifier for the ability to pair bond. And so the reason why virginity is talked about so much in the manosphere is not in regards to religious purity and morality, as we would point towards, but that because she's a virgin, when she does have sex, and especially if she orgasms with her partner, she's going to form a pair bond that's going to be so much stronger that she's willing to go through situations where maybe they're upset with each other. Maybe she's unhappy for a while, but they've made a larger commitment to each other. And so that's the general argument in the manosphere, is why they focus so much on virginity.
So what, you think it'd probably be just I mean, not to denigrate the power that virginity has in like keeping the couple together and all, but what, you think it's going to be a long-term better pushback? Say I can get hold of some land down here in Southeast Georgia, I get a wife, and then a homestead gig going, chickens, goats, fruit trees, and just kids. In fact, you know what, David, while I got you, are you still thinking about a homestead? Are we going to have like a Church of the Eternal Homestead going soon?
Well, I'm making plans with my soon-to-be wife, so I think as of right now we plan on staying in Indiana. But a homestead certainly is in the future goals, no doubt. But I'm curious what the women think about this in regards to sexual purity. Kira and Natty, what are your thoughts on male virginity, female virginity, or how this relates and how it relates to long-term marriages in regards to sort of the dating advice that we're hearing in the manosphere?
Do you want to go first, or shall I?
You can go first. You can go ahead. Yeah.
What are my thoughts on this? So I've always struggled with this because, well, just to reveal, like me and my husband, we weren't virgins at all. We were both liberal, and we were living that hedonistic life when we met, right? So according to the general consensus of this data from this study to do with pair bonding, we should be divorced by now, but we are together 10 years and we have 3 kids and 1 more on the way. I'm sorry, I just...
Glory to God.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a woman. I talk about myself. No, joking. No, but like, I just want to encourage people to get together as much as possible. And I think that this purity thing, we need to think about for the next generation. I'm not sure.
Right.
I'm not sure we should be talking about it, taking it so seriously now, because it's kind of too late. People just need to forgive each other and themselves for what they've done, and just find someone who is of a similar background to you, if you can help it. I think what a lot of the insecurity is about is a man who's not very experienced or something, and then they meet a woman, they like the woman, but she's more experienced than him. And probably that isn't a good match, right? Maybe she should find someone who's more like her, but has also changed and seen the light and found Christ or whatever, right? So I would like to see, like, the manosphere, for example, talking more realistically like that, because everyone I know that has succeeded in getting a solid marriage together, like they've all come from different backgrounds, and I haven't seen examples of people who are like virgins and now the ones that everyone looks up to. To be honest, like I follow some groups that are full of like fundamentalist Christians, and they have their own issues. They have a certain kind of chauvinistic side going on where the women are encouraged to be helpmeets and be submissive, which as a Christian, the man is the head, but they take it too far, and then they try and marry their girls off really young. And there's all these horrible horror stories of them being married off to an older man who probably watches porn, by the way, because I've never heard so much complaints about porn usage in marriage than I have in some of these groups with these fundamentalist Christians.
Oh, interesting.
They don't seem to understand that the male libido needs, they need to speak to them. They need to take it seriously, and they blame it on the woman. And I honestly, I thought, when feminists have gone on about this in the past, I used to think they were just exaggerating, but this does seem to be an issue. Anyway, I'm just going off on whatever here, but I'm just saying that a more realistic approach in acknowledging that we are all sinners and we are all deeply damaged by our culture, and stop trying to promote this ideal, work on it for the next generation. That's what I have to say.
That next generation point is very important, though, because I know, DPH, you had mentioned that you, in a previous stream, that when you have a kid, you, especially if it's a daughter, even if it's whatever it is, that you want them to be a virgin when they get married.
Yeah,
my wife
exactly.
and I have a kid on the way, and that's our plan as well, because we were not. Pretty much, I'm guessing like 95% of the couples out there, we were not when we got married, right?
Agreed.
And the thing about, you can never regain the innocence from you cannot regain the innocence that you had before you committed the sin, but you can put a block or maybe a speed bump in the way of your children and other people before they commit the same sin that you did.
Right.
And to your point, I think to the point of everybody that would agree on the panel, is that whether we have committed these sins in our own lives, what we can do is help the next generation of Christians, especially Orthodox Christians, not make those same mistakes. Yeah.
Yeah. And Kira, you're free if you wanted to chime in on the virginity thing. What's your thoughts on that?
Yes, I actually kind of agree with her with kind of what she said about modern times. And, you know, these days and age, people need to just forgive. But a little bit more about that. They put a lot about the woman being pure, but what about the men? They don't really talk about, oh, what about, you know, did the men have, you know, sexual intercourse with someone? Or it's always about the women. And I just have a problem with that, because what's the difference if you both aren't in it in the same journey together? You know, if it's only one-sided, then what's the point? That's
Yeah,
how
way to be a male leader by showing the women that you want to eventually marry and have children with that you can sleep around. And
Right.
Yeah, that's real male leadership right there.
Right. And
Yeah.
and that's what I would want my son to be is, you know, ideal world here, of course. A masculine young man, athletic, good looking, believing in God, lives a moral life, and he is a virgin. And he then puts a standard that he expects the other girl to be a virgin. And that would be something that would be ideal for me as a Christian father.
See, I would have absolutely no problem if a guy is a virgin, if he said, I want a virgin wife, I want a virgin woman to have my kids. But if you are around town, you've already slept with this many, I feel like you shouldn't really have a say on how many people she slept with. That's just my opinion. I feel like you shouldn't. It's like being a hypocrite, basically. Like, if you slept with this many people, who are you to judge how many people your wife have slept with? Unless you're a virgin, you shouldn't judge other people that are not. So.
Well, what if the discrepancy, just throwing it out here, just this thought question, what if the discrepancy between partners is quite large?
Oh, what do you mean by large?
Say one person slept with 30 people and one person slept with 3 people.
Well, that's between them. I don't know.
Agreed, but could they be a little bit more discerning or critical from that perspective? What are your thoughts? Say the man's only slept with 3 people, and he's dating a girl and they're serious, and say they're both religious, or maybe she's changed their heart now. Because I want to come back to this idea that as Christians, we actually can forgive a woman where the secular manosphere like doesn't forgive them and then puts this preeminence on low body counts, but then all they do is sleep with women because they're not interested in marrying them. So they're just giving women higher body counts.
Yeah.
I want to come back to that. But let's in a scenario, let's say the man's only slept with 3 women, and maybe he's now turned his heart towards Christ. He wants to be an ideal masculine man. And the woman has also changed her heart, but maybe she slept with 30 people. What are your thoughts? Would it be fair for the man to say, well, that's maybe a little bit too much for me. I don't know if I'm interested.
That's very fair, but he still shouldn't judge. But that's very fair to not be comfortable with that, you know.
Okay.
Hey. But hey, if you have slept with other women previously, you shouldn't judge and say, I'm looking for a virgin or somebody that's pure, as in terms. So I think it's very fair to be uncomfortable and question, but it's not fair to completely like judge a woman based off of purity if you are not pure yourself, as in terms that they use. So
you're right.
Yeah, just really quick. Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think it depends on how that woman views it, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, was she a porn star? Like, that's a whole different story. Yeah.
Living that kind of life. Or how does she feel about it? Does she want to repent properly?
Yeah. Is she a cheater, or there's a lot of things that go into play when it comes to do you feel comfortable with accepting her past, you know?
Well, you may have a situation where the woman has repented properly, right? And she has done everything you need to do to make up for her sin or whatever, right? But then the man, because he slept with less women, he might go, well, I haven't slept with that many women, so why do I need to repent? So in that situation,
that's true. Yeah,
the woman could be, more pious, maybe. I don't know if that's the right word.
Oh, I wouldn't say bias. I would say
bias. Sorry.
Repentant.
Repentant. Yeah. Sorry, she's not exactly pious yet, is she? But I'm just saying that it's all about how they feel about what they've done in the past and how, right? That's how I would view it. The man may have a worse attitude about it than her.
Could be.
With less. It just depends on.
That could be a possibility, yeah.
Well, you know, I agree with that type of point. I mean, it's just sin has become so infested in society. I mean, we really just can't, as young men or women these days, really demand you've got to be a virgin. I accept nothing else. It doesn't make sense. But I mean, not like I'm not justifying the sin, obviously, but if we're looking to get married with decent chances, we need to be able to forgive and kind of overlook things. We all have flaws. It could be, oh, they don't have that sin in particular, but what happens if they've got anger issues, if they struggle with gluttony, even though a lot of society kind of ignores that one.
Yeah, obesity.
Oh yeah, and it's summer. It's not big boy season.
Well, and what the point I wanted to make earlier, and we can wrap up on this already 2 hours and 50 minutes in, is I think it's so interesting that just in the general conversation we've had here, but also I've spoke before and Rachel's come on, is that, you know, as Christians, we do offer repentance and forgiveness. And so we don't know the quality of repentance in somebody's heart. That's between them and God, but certainly whatever they tell us, and that's what we can only go on. But we can move beyond our shortcomings, where the manosphere and this whole secular form of masculinity doesn't allow any sort of forgiving of potential ills that we've done previously. And yet, like I said, is always qualifying these women. Oh, have they slept less than 5? Have they slept with less than 6? Have they, you know, how much is on their body count? And then like Tristan Tate brags about how many virgins he sleeps with. So they literally build a whole brand talking about how they're only interested in pure women, but then they also brag about how they can sleep with any virgin within 3 months. Yeah. I mean, aren't you then destroying the innocence and destroying the girl and the purity that you just said that is idealized? And so maybe she does have sex, and maybe she has a few more partners, like down in 5, 6, 7, 10 years later, she wants to get married. And then the people have been consuming this content. They'd say, oh no, we can't. You slept with too many people. So it's so interesting that the secular sphere puts these hard limits on it and doesn't forgive them. Meanwhile, creating the thing that they don't want to forgive. And yet the religious side, we're trying to not have sex. Most of us are non-virgins. And I know most of the Orthodox men here are non-virgins, yet when they meet the woman that they want to have children with, the goal is to not have sex before marriage. Even if we're both non-virgins, that's fine. We can restart our commitment to God, and we can look over so much. So I think that's so interesting how as Christians, we can forgive and move forward and build something stronger, whereas the secular sphere doesn't forgive and then creates the thing that they don't want to forgive.
It's also, I like that about the religious sense of it. It's like you hear all of these channels like talking about how, oh, it's sort of, do you get the feeling, David, that it's like a doomsday sort of thing with these channels? So where with us though, it's like, okay, your house burned down because of sins earlier in your life. Just repent, and here's some timber. Christ has the nails. Let's raise the barn again. Come on. It's like, let's rebuild the village. Yeah, it's burned down. Yeah, there's fire still raging in the distance, but here's water, here's wood, here's nails, screws, whatever. Let's build it again. Christ offers us a way like, look, you've messed up, but build up again, help your kids not fall in that way. Am I making sense?
Yeah, I think you're making sense, and I think one of the points that could be made there is the difference between reactionary and moving towards a future goal. I mean, because as you're saying, like rebuilding the barn, so we as Christians can agree with many of the social ills that the manosphere talks about, but we're not reacting to it and then building this dialectical relationship between the manosphere, the women, or the advice. We can agree with it, and then we can come to a new foundation in Christ and then move forward. And that is essentially what you mean by rebuilding the barn, and then having children and putting those and instilling those values in them, when the world that is existing right now is not the world that any of us on this panel grew up in. It's something totally different.
Well, given how there's, on the left, there seems to be sort of like the sterility, this spirit of destruction. If they're not even having children, and then even if we, the small little minority, start having children, the future already is going to be more in our favor because the scales will tip with time.
Absolutely.
It's like if we work on building something, which I really hope that I can get something going in the future. I'm not sitting on my behind doing nothing. I, as a young man, have taken some steps. I'm even, I still have yet to get 5x5 on 225 on the squat rack because I'm doing strong lifts. But we got to keep working, keep building something. If we build, there's something for the future,
Yeah. Well, as Way Logo says, that's what I mean. Look to God to heal the wounds of past sin. I see fornication as a form of self-harm. And essentially it is. And that's why all of us have harmed ourselves, whether it be pornography or sexual partners before marriage, is it's pleasure without responsibility, as I've said before. And the goal is and that's why then it's hard to find somebody that wants to take on the responsibility with you, because everybody's so used to just focusing on the pleasure. But anyways, anybody want to say something before we hop off here? I want to appreciate Kira and Natty from coming on. And Kira, I know that how did you find
thought I was a troll.
I did think you were a troll. When you commented and said people are supposed to bow down to women. Yeah, yeah. You were trolling. So you were trolling a bit.
I didn't mean it in that way. When I said that, well, I already explained why I said it, the way that I said it.
Mm-hmm. How did you find this channel? I'm curious.
I actually seen an old video that you made, and I was watching it, and then I clicked on it, and on the little right corner it said you were live. So I was like, let me see what this guy's about. I was like, oh, he's just talking trash about women.
No, we're actually not talking. We actually are pro women and pro men.
I know that now, but
Okay.
when it first started, I was like, yeah.
Right.
But that's hilarious, and everybody, oh, that's a dude. I'm like, I'm not a dude.
Well, we've had guys that all they do is put a female thumbnail in their handle, and then they go and they say messages and try to troll people in the live.
No, I'm not a troll and I'm not a dude, but I thought you were like a woman bashing channel. So but thank you for having me on. I really appreciate your channel, and I appreciate you guys that are on the panel tonight. So thank you for your insight, and
yeah, you're feel free to come back. And I appreciate you. Most of us are Orthodox Christians, so I know that you're sort of in the orthosphere. This is called the orthosphere as opposed to the manosphere. So
don't forget to like and subscribe.
Yeah. I appreciate you coming on and voicing your opinion in an audience and a community that you're not familiar with.
Well, thank you guys for having me on, and so have a great night.
Yeah, you as well. God bless.
You.
Have a good weekend.
Keep watching.
Natty?
I will.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on. What you have any closing thoughts or anything you'd like to say before hopping off?
What do I want to say? Thank you for having me on.
Of course.
And
AC told me that you do great stuff with. I'm not familiar with your content. I'll have to check it out. He mentioned when you were going in and out because your connection was poor.
Yeah.
He said, "Oh yeah, Natty does great stuff regarding the manosphere." So I assume then, are you Orthodox Christian?
I am, yeah. I have done 2 videos recently. I'm not a content creator, but I feel that I have some unique experience because of what I used to do to talk about the manosphere. And also, I am going to be doing an interview with my friend, 2 people who do content stuff next week. So at the moment, I'm sort of filling my head with all this stuff and getting involved and talking on Twitter, which is fun. So it's a pleasure to be here. It's quite late, but I'm not getting any sleep. So
Yeah, are you what, 5 hours ahead?
yeah, I'm just about to have another baby, and I'm not getting any
Oh
sleep.
my gosh. Well, glory to God.
I've been asleep all day. My family let me do that, and then I'm now awake at night. Anyway, but I did have a couple of things I wanted to say.
Go ahead. The floor is yours.
I have this theory that there are some people in the manosphere, specifically the MGTOW part of it, who've been around a very long time, and I believe that they promoted the MGTOW stuff from the point of view that they were transhumanists, and they already decided that they were pro-transhumanism. And when I say that, I mean that they really want the artificial womb to exist in the future. It sounds crazy, but there's a couple of people who've been around a very long time who influenced people, say, 10 years ago. And I kind of want to put this idea out there that there are some people that have been involved who have deliberately steered it a little bit towards that type of thinking. There are definitely some radical types who think that sex dolls and artificial wombs are the future. And I've had many arguments in the past with people who said, oh, it's because they're being reactionary and they've got red pill rage. And like, no, these people were like that from the beginning. They just saw this as an opportunity to promote it. So I don't know if anyone has thought about that, possibility of that. But I've noticed it. And I know who they are.
Yeah, I agree with you. Transhumanism is my academic focus. It's my specialty. So
right, yeah.
I agree with you on there.
Okay. And then the other thing was, if you hear people in the manosphere talking about gynocentrism, which I'm sure a lot of people have, most people understand it to be that now we put women on a pedestal and they have more rights than men, and they're viewed as this women are wonderful effect in society, which most people agree with that now, right? But the actual thesis is like it is like the same as patriarchy theory for feminism, and you need to really read the guy who wrote the book about it if anyone's interested. It's called Gynocentrism from Feudalism to Feminism. Okay, and it will explain a lot of this kind of weird anti-traditionalism that the men's rights / manosphere guys have, and a lot of them don't even understand where it comes from. They're just parroting something because they got involved and they for whatever reason.
Right.
But people like Rolo know what it's about, for example, because it's been around a long time.
Right.
I just wanted to put these things out there just for people that are interested in looking into it a little bit more. Because this guy's thesis, he basically makes this claim that during the medieval period and the Middle Ages, when the romantic love became more popular in culture, I mean, that is sort of a valid point, but at the same time, he completely dismisses the impact of Christianity and chivalry, and then he starts going on about how chivalry got subverted by feminism in the Middle Ages. And we've had this underlying gynocentric viewpoint since then, and I think he is wrong, personally. I think it's like historical revisionism. The whole thing is based on, because he just misses out stuff. So if anyone's interested in looking into it, then you should have a look at that. I might try and do something about it when I get around to it, when I'm not looking after all my kids.
That sounds good. Yeah, Luke Plays Drums says the manosphere in MGTOW is basically sexual libertarianism for Coomers. I love that. So true. Well, Nadi, God bless you and the family. God bless your pregnancy. Glory to God that your family's growing. That's excellent. Wish you nothing but the best. And next time I do an open panel, if you're up, I know it's late for where you're at, but if you're up, feel free to join. We'd love to hear your opinion.
No worries. Thank you for having me on.
Of course. God bless. Okay. Gentlemen, anybody want to chime in next?
David, I've got one last comment before I shoot on out of here.
All right, let's hear it, bro.
I'm sorry, question, not comment. My bad, man. In the event that someone still is a virgin, given how you've studied the saints and have maybe gone into a deeper dive of the church than I have, because I only converted like a couple years ago. I jumped off the Roman Catholic ship and hit the deck of the Greek church really not the happiest of landings. Kind of rolled around on the deck and almost fell off. But getting to the question, in the event that someone does keep their purity, have the saints or the church, have they specified what rewards on earth that person gets, be it man or woman? Like, do they get...
Well, I would be hesitant to look at virtue as an exchange with God. So to look at you doing anything virtuously as an exchange is the basis of the prosperity gospel. And so that's a heresy in orthodoxy. Now, at the same time, you read Job, and God tested Job, and he was faithful and took everything away, allowed Satan to tempt him, and then gave him everything back twofold. So the point being is that it's not so clear as if I'm a virgin, I'm going to have a successful marriage, or if I'm really virtuous, God's going to allow me to be super successful and make a lot of money. Both those could happen. But the goal to be virtuous has to come from a point in your heart that you desire to be like Christ, and then miracles can happen. But if you're doing something just for the exchange rate, I'm not saying you are, but I'm saying if somebody were to, from the perspective of God, they're not doing it based on the sincerity of their own heart. They're doing it for the expectation of something in return.
Well, have you ever dealt with that type of struggle to where it's one of those days to where the commandments in one way or another, they just are, oh my gosh, why did he have to command this? Or what in the world is the point of me doing this or that command? It's kind of like, what is the reward I'm actually going to get? And I have days like that. It's discouraging, especially in this modern day and age.
The reward is heaven. The reward is eternity. The reward is eternal bliss with God. And the reward is being able to see everybody that you've loved that also made it to the kingdom. And so the reward is something we're doing something inside space and time for a reward that's outside space and time. And that's why it's so much built on faith. But I promise you, if you do go down that journey, which you may have, I have no idea with your context, that I think God will make
a mystery box.
Okay. Well, we'll keep it a mystery, but I would argue that one who does then go down that path sincerely, God presents himself and demonstrates that he's here with you. Despite you doing something for the eternal kingdom, God will make himself manifest, and and so you have a feeling that anything can happen, and therefore you wish that God's will be done for your life, because God's will is always going to be better than your will. If your destiny and God's providence is for you to be a married man because that's what's in your heart and not to be a monastic, Well, the woman that you choose right now because you feel lonely may not be the woman that God gives you once you're able to quell that loneliness and be a virtuous man. And the woman that he gives you may be the one that you need to have a marriage for the rest of your life, or the one that you may choose now out of the sense of loneliness isn't the one that's going to stay there with you. So you see my point is that you have to seek God and then allow God's will to enter into your life. And I feel that, at least this is just from my perspective, from my journey, God continually does stuff that is not what I expected or what I planned on, but always 2020 looking back, it's always better than what I could have chosen or what I would have chosen.
That's the struggle, man. It's like there's the aspect of that loneliness, but it was even like yesterday there, it just comes to a point, man, to where it's like I'm sick of like trying to want, and it's like you kind of have to just throw up your hands and just look, if this girl that I'm interested in is the one, then thy will be done.
Well, and that's where you have to allow it to not be your will for her to be the one, but God's will for her to be the one.
That's the thing. It's telling the Lord, thy will be done. If this girl's the one, then this girl's the one. If not,
but the other flip side to that is if you have to be the man that God wants you to be for him to give you the wife that is good for who you are.
Yeah, man, I still have to.
So we have to work as men. We need to focus on everything that's in our control. And this is where maybe the self-improvement, self-development side of the manosphere, we would agree with that you have to go on that journey on however that fits who you are. Not everybody needs to be a bodybuilder or do anything. That's not, it's you becoming the best version of who you are and who you want to be. Because whoever the best version of you is perfect for the best version of the woman who God has for you.
Yeah, and you know, before I shoot off, if you would grant a little request, would you maybe pray for me that I start getting in the habit of praying more, just to offer a brother a little support, man? Because I have trouble with like forcing myself to pray, forcing myself to read the book as penance, and I drag myself to confession, but
well,
I think
how many times, and this is obviously we're Orthodox, so we have a lot of prayers that we can read, but how many times do you pray where it's unscripted?
I found I think it best that I use a scripted prayer rule,
You
man.
can, but if you're finding it difficult to do that, I personally, and this is I again talk with your priest about this. He was going to know better than I do, but something that I do to keep my relationship with God unique for me is that I do have unscripted private conversations. There's a general theme in regards to thanksgiving, repentance for things that I know I did wrong, praying for other people. But I felt if I'm really in my heart like asking for something, that's when I've been able to do it in accordance, and also reading your Orthodox prayers and doing stuff like that. So I only say that because that's something that I've done, and my priest is, we've talked about that at church, but talk to your priest about struggling with prayer. I can certainly pray for you. I assume your Christian name's Michael?
Yep, just like
Perfect.
the archangel. It's
Okay,
so
well,
crazy. I was that name in the. Oh, am I allowed to go on, or are you like?
Well, go ahead. We got to wrap up here, but I was just going to say I'll definitely pray for you.
Oh, it's just I find it crazy that I was named Michael before I converted. Even when I was still Roman Catholic, my patron saint was the Archangel Michael, and then I go right into Orthodoxy. Look who's back again, the Archangel Michael.
Well, God bless you, brother. Well, I'll definitely say a prayer for you, and you know, and I don't know what your relationship with your priest, but certainly you can talk to your priest about some of your struggles and see what his advice is. But yeah, I'd say just again, kind of basic, but keep on keeping on, man. Fight the good fight, because you never know the blessings that God can have for you. And I'm telling you, it's always better than what you'd choose.
Yeah. All right. I'll keep that in mind. And also, I don't have the comments up right now, but there's some bourgeoisie something.
Yeah, the bourgeoisie beatnik.
Yeah, I love the comment about the millennial John Wayne, man. I appreciate it, man. Yeah. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, whoever's watching, and
Yeah,
of
and that's
course,
another
y'all
great,
three still on.
great, and this is a great point by Cat GPT Spence. Is for a spouse, do your paraclesis to Saint Xenia, and that's somebody I prayed to as well, and the Theotokos. So the church highly recommend. Obviously, you're not praying them to do anything for you other than also pray for you, but praying to Mary and praying to Saint Xenia to pray for you for specifically for a spouse or for patience for the right spouse. These are virtuous things that I think have benefited my life.
Yeah. Well, anyways, hey, everyone, I hope you all have a fantastic night. God be with every one of you.
You as well, brother. God bless you, man, and your family. Take easy.
Thank you.
George, Dr. Vagisil, who wants to go next?
So, I'll just
Dr.
go really
Vag?
quick.
All right.
Yeah, my battery's about to die and I'm getting attacked by mosquitoes, but just really quick. Just really quick. Just want to say that one of the reasons that you see this promiscuity in guys that's promoted is because we as men, we tend to our value comes from, like, if people think that we have sex with a lot of women, because that implies that we can get a lot of women, which means that we're attractive. But what's even more difficult is having lots of women pursue you and saying no to them. And a lot of times, because that isn't something that you get publicized or rewarded for, oftentimes that's not viewed as valuable. But that comes down to first your relationship with God. And as a man, one of the things that we need to focus on is being truthful with people, because one of the core things about being a man is, like, is your word true? Like, if I say I'm going to do something, am I going to do it? And
Huge part of being a man.
Yeah. So it's just about focusing on what does God say being a man is versus because we live in such a social media society that people tend to value what social media and the news says, that, you get rewarded as a man through likes by posting some hot photo or having all the Lamborghini and stuff. But, working to get that away from your mind, and again, focus on what does the Bible say you should do. And then also, if you're really struggling with this hedonistic lifestyle, go back and study Ecclesiastes, because that oftentimes solves a lot of the anxiety that guys have with, like, do I have enough money? Do I have all that stuff? And then, again, one last thing when it comes to, these thoughts, because again, we have the logisme that also attack us as men, because we have to hold that standard because women follow, and as a result we have to always be on guard. So just say the Jesus prayer. Like, that's something that helped me personally. Like, I actually woke up a few days ago and I was having, like, all these health issues, and I all of a sudden started saying the Jesus prayer, and then I started to, like, again, might have been, well, there's no coincidence, but I started noticing that all this pressure that I had, all this stuff was starting to dissipate. And then I just happened to naturally do that. Like, for example, like, again, prayer is important, focusing on what does God say a man is, and just, going from there, avoiding the sexual stuff, because as a man, you're manipulated through your eyes, and all that good stuff. But yeah, it's getting late, so I'll just leave it on that.
Well, great advice, Dr. Vagisil. God bless you, brother. And thanks for all the support, man.
All right. Thanks. You too. Thanks so much.
George, the last one standing. What's up, bro?
Yeah,
Where are you at in the U.S., by the way?
I'm actually not too far from you. I'm probably about 4 hours away, I think, from you, in the middle of nowhere, Illinois.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Illinois
Nice.
sucks, but
What part of Illinois?
I'm close to the Quad Cities.
Oh, okay. Quad Cities. Gotcha.
Yeah. So I guess just to wrap up, I want to say thank you for having us on.
Of course.
It's really a blessing to have somebody with a little bit of an audience, so that we can come on and actually talk about these issues. And it is more of a round table than kind of just your insular group of friends having the same conversations over and over.
Right.
So I really do appreciate that. And
thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah. Just a reminder to everybody, I'm not trying to be preachy here, but these are conversations that we should be having in our church with the guys at our church as well. it isn't just an online thing. The church is a real spiritual building that you need to go to and have these conversations with, because a lot of the guys, even if you don't know them personally, a lot of the guys at your church, especially in bigger parishes, are struggling with this just the same as we are and we did. So those conversations in person are very important. And I think that's the last thing I had to say. The only thing that really came to mind when everybody else was talking about repentance and forgiveness, especially when you guys were talking about the women with higher body counts, is I think it's St. Mary of Egypt was doing terrible things until
she's an info.
Yep. Until she
for many years.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a good thing to keep in mind, especially for the young ortho guys who feel almost rightfully so angry at the world, that you need to give people repentance and forgiveness, because that anger is only going to well up inside of you and make you bitter and turn you away from the Trinity. So
yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I want to finish with this, with the super chat that came in from Keenan Beats. Shout out to my brother Keenan Beats. He throws in $5. He said, great open panel. The army of demon trolls really adds to the underlying spiritual warfare theme of the channel. Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
I don't feel like my icons next to me really appreciated the fact that dude came in here and started screaming, but whatever.
Dude, and the stuff, the terrible stuff they want to post in the live chat's ridiculous, man.
You couldn't even get a word out. Like, you couldn't. It was just constant.
Unreal. Yeah, it's like I don't get why people even want to do that, other than some type of demonic impulse within people that they're not conscious of. I mean, that doesn't make any sense to me. You don't have anything better to do than yell the N-word and just what?
Yeah. It made me laugh the first time, just because it was like, what is this dude doing? But then, seeing it 76 more times is a little irritating.
Dude, I had the Muslims too. One of the, not the last open panel I did, but one before it, I had some Muslims that, I mean, I'm not kidding. We probably blocked 80 accounts of the same exact name saying the same exact thing over and over and over and over and over. Now I can put it on slow-mo. Now I know how to do that. Thank you to BLA for texting me and giving me that info. So now it's on a 30-second slow mode, which I think helps a lot. But dang, the trolls were crazy.
Yeah, you just got to get on that Sam Shamoon tip and start blocking everybody.
We
block everybody.
Yeah. But George, God bless you, bro. Any last words you want to leave before hopping off?
No, just that's it. We appreciate you. We appreciate everybody in the orthosphere. So keep it going.
Well, thank you, brother. God bless you and yours. And God bless your new family. You said your wife's pregnant, right?
Yeah, we're
Glory to God, man.
a week through the last trimester, so we're expecting pretty soon here.
Man, that's amazing, man. Congratulations on
appreciate that. Yeah.
I wish you and your family nothing but good health and blessings.
Yeah, well, same to you. Continue, keep the fast, so to speak, as you're going into the marriage planning. And
right.
Yeah. Good luck.
Well, thank you, brother. Really do appreciate you.
Yeah.
And God bless you and the family. And next time we have an open panel, feel free to hop on if you're free.
Yeah, appreciate it, dude. I appreciate it.
All right. God bless.
Bye.
All right, guys, that's going to do it. We got one last super chat that comes in from Raymond Cannon, throws in $10. Thank you so much, Raymond. God bless you, brother. Thank you very, very much. And that's going to do it. So I hope everybody enjoyed the stream. Certainly we had some unexpected acquaintances here in the live chat and even trying to join the open panel. But I want to wish everybody a blessed weekend. I will be back Sunday doing a live stream on either Sound of Freedom, or what I'm more expecting is the difference between Hindu avatars and the incarnation of the logo. So that will be Sunday, and then I expect to do a review of the Sound of Freedom on Monday. So I will see you guys Sunday and Monday. As always, until next time, God bless.